Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-fi, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Chris Wouters, Amish Earther, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Eric Troche, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, Level Plain Poem, Cannabear, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Leland's Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. And now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. Hey, John, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you in Discord yet?
No, not yet. Should I be? Will be in 10 seconds. I'm just drafting an email to Max Egan. Do you want to hear it?
Go on.
Who?
Max Egan. Can I hear it or not?
Yeah, we can hear it.
Dear Mr. Egan, you have recently come to my attention because, to my understanding, you have gained an appreciation of the flat nature of the world we dwell atop. It would be my honour to offer you the very best axioms and arguments there are for this subject, so that you are not drawn into the speculation about ice walls, domes, maps with sun and moon floating above them, how the globe doesn't work, NASA, and other such nonsense which finds prevalence in this subject area. Instead, and if you are willing, I'd like to take you through the proof, measurements of the flat Earth that are also used to make claims we stand on a sphere. If you would be willing to allow me and possibly my panel of experts in this subject to give you the very best tools to defend the fact Earth is measured flat, please drop me a reply so we/I can make some arrangements to do just that. Yours sincerely, Nathan Oakley.
I like
Well,
it. I like it, Nathan.
It sounds
sounds
British
expensive.
enough.
Yeah, it sounds very expensive.
That's very what?
Also expensive. You should have thrown the word reptilians in there. Stay away from the reptilians and all that.
It's not 2015. Reptilians are a big problem these days, to be honest.
But you got to throw it in there. Like say it's nonsense, and throw in some some crazy stuff.
Why?
Some Tartaria in there. Tell them to stay away from Tartaria. I don't know. I think
he's into Tartaria.
Leather, but this guy's a...
Look, I'll just leave it at that, okay?
Why are you emailing?
He's actually into
It's not worth the
Tartaria.
email, then. Jesus Christ. You guys follow that guy named John Levy?
I know who John Levy is, yes.
Oh my God, that guy needs a shot of testosterone. He's so beta when he's talking, man. It's just very low energy. Like, Jesus Christ, are you on drugs? I'm trolling him too. I always say, you need a testosterone shot, He's always so dull. He's like, as we get my morning started. Nobody gives a shit about him.
I got a question about that letter. So
Interesting content, shit presentation.
It kind of reminds me of you going on the Bob Nodell show, though, and teaching them about the scientific method, though. What if he doesn't take it well?
Who cares?
So this guy's a Globie or Flat Earther?
He's new to Flat Earth. In the past, he's recently opposed it.
He's at this moment a flat
that
Earth
letter's probably
believer,
wrong.
it sounds like.
Yes, that's exactly the intention behind my email to him. So if at this stage
That-
you've gained some appreciation of how flat Earth is, and you're going to now expanding out into that publicly by declaring it so, there's a good chance that you'll be bombarded with ice walls and ether.
with the free energy.
Yeah. Are you okay? You think that's a good letter, John?
I thought it was excellent. Yeah, I was going to ask you how was it JLB?
Yeah.
John LeBon. How'd that go?
All right, I'll send this email then. That's gone.
Oh yeah, it sounded great, but I didn't get the chance to see the John LeBon thing. Did it go good?
Well, I didn't release it to the public, so his show is formatted such that it goes out. I think he's going to do the first hour for the public, which he's already edited and sent me a link. He did it really quickly. But his second half is for his members only on his website. So what I did was just broadcast to members only live the whole process, and the edited nice version of it with all his clips that we talk about and things that are going to be in it is going to obviously have a lot more work put into it than me just publishing the recorded bit, which had its own issues. The sort of recorded section, I immediately started, and like I always do, I just started recording as soon as I sit down, which is why I always disclaim if I'm here, I'm recording, which I am. Anyway, he starts chit-chatting immediately with me about Bob Nodell. And he's like, I'm glad the guy's dead. Bastard, doxed me. That was kind of the conversation, right? And then he was like, now we're chatting just before we're recording. I was like, whoa, I'm always recording. He was like, oh, well, I wouldn't have been quite so candid about how I feel about Bob Nodell had it been made clear that you were recording. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I typically disclaim it all the time. But I haven't to you, so I can only apologise. Now, at which point I wasn't streaming to members, so it's just the recording. So I was like, okay, fine, I just won't publish that recording. So for brevity, I've put it on my list of videos in YouTube, but with a title, do not publish. Because frankly, and if I do, it would be after he'd released his second half of the video to the public anyway. And then I'd probably go in and edit out that section, because he was obviously a bit put out by it. So I was like already on the back foot as soon as it started, because I'm like, look, I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to catch you out here. I don't want to put out something you didn't think would ever reach the public just so they can be hacked up and used against you. That's not my intention. So, and plus, the way
Is the Egan guy a YouTuber?
JLB, yeah, he's a YouTuber. He's got his website, which is
The
mainly
Egan guy.
yeah.
He was one of my favorite Globers when they come around.
He's
Or I
not a
don't know if
Glober.
he's really a Glober.
He's not.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
No, far from it. He was one of the pioneers of this subject, believe it or not. He had Eric DeBay on his show and interviewed him. The Ball Earth Skeptic Roundtable.
What are you talking about?
JLB.
Yeah,
Oh.
but didn't he argue for 2 points of rotation isn't possible on a flat plane?
Yes, he did. He argued that was proof of a sphere, or questioned how we could explain it. So he didn't postulate
Chewy's favorite person, right?
My bad. He didn't postulate it as a globe claim. He asked how we could explain it. That's how he phrased it to us. From memory. But he's not a glober. And he's definitely not a flat earther. So he's taken apart the current heliocentric rhetoric based on the lack of evidence and then just stopped there. He's not looked for flat earth proof. And frankly, given that it's taken us about 5 years to do it, I don't blame him. But he drew the line at when he debunked the globe and just didn't buy into the feast of nonsense. In fact, he found it very irritating. Now, at that particular point, I was involved with those sorts of people. Your Patricia Steers and your David Weisses, and they're all very much the feast of nonsense group. So in many ways, he opposed me and what I stood for back then, because I didn't know any better and was punting out the feast of nonsense like everybody else still is to this day. So, Yeah, that's. But yeah, it was a really good show. He and I were reminiscing about the good fun times when Flat Earth was more fun, as opposed to how it is now, and it's a bit more of a struggle. But yeah, there's a lot more backbiting and people calling you a scammer and things inside your own community. But back in the day, it was good fun. Ignorance is bliss, as they say.
You're coming up on your 10-year anniversary, aren't you?
Yeah. I don't know exactly when it is. I'd have to look up the exact date, but it's coming up on about 10 years. I think it was late 2014, if memory serves me correctly, like September 2014 or August-ish, something like that.
So you might be at the head of the next wave.
Maybe. I don't know what that means exactly. I know what Math Powerland used to mean when he used to describe it in waves. What do you mean?
Well, we've talked about it before where it seems like every 10 years there's a resurgence in the topic. Like they need to keep it just enough in the mind of the public that they can criticize it. It'd be interesting to see proof at the head of that wave.
Yeah, that would be nice. It was Eddie Bravo that texted me, by the way.
No kidding.
Yeah, I just didn't know it was because I got a new phone. So every time he gets in touch with me, I'm like, "Who are you? Who's this? Why are you asking me these questions?" Because I obviously I hadn't saved his number into my phone the first time, so I did it literally. I think it's been 3 times. I've got a text from him and gone, "Who are you?"
So what are we doing about it?
Nothing. He just dropped me a line, and his actual text was to compliment me on the short videos I've been producing, which he probably doesn't appreciate that I only produced because I was mitigating for a broken computer, so I needed to keep pumping out videos, right? That's just how these things work out. Always a silver lining.
Well, the short videos really play to the masses, I guess. If you can get as much information in a minute, that's about all you got with them.
Yeah, and that's why I've been putting out videos between 1 and 8 or 9 minutes long at the most. They're all relatively short. Yeah, I was getting a good reception from them straight away, which I was pleased about. Speaking of computers, my new computer arrived today at Craig's shop, so he sent me 2 photos of it. Well, presumably after tomorrow's show, I'll take this down, strip it down, and change the computer inside it.
Oh, Lord, how much that cost?
A lot.
I figured it would. But now, like, the company that built that one's paying on it, right?
No, one of the subscribers, one of my patrons is paying for it.
That's how important this show is, Nathan. You see?
Yeah.
I know you know.
Yeah, well, someone reached out to me and said, "What do you need to do to get this fixed?" And I was like, these 2 components need fixing. It's like, find out how much that is. So I did, and then he gave me the money, and I got back in touch with Craig 2 days ago and went, "He's given me the money. Exactly what you told me it would cost. Please, can you order them?" So today he sent me 2 pictures of the CPU and motherboard. I'm like, wow. So this is actually going to finally end. The nightmare of this god-awful, really unstable, horrendous computer will finally end.
You had to replace the motherboard. Oh, man, that sucks.
Yeah, well, that's the computer, isn't it? Once you get to that stage, you've replaced the computer. So, as it happens,
Yeah.
I've actually replaced every single component over its short life. So, essentially, can't really call it Beast 3.0 because it's now a new computer. It's a different computer now.
No, ship of Theseus, my friend. It is the ship of Theseus.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's Trigger's broom. That's right. But that would be the point. I would call it a new computer, though. So if somebody changed a case, a power supply, a GPU, a load of wiring, and kept the motherboard and CPU, I'd be like, that's the same computer. However, if they kept their GPU, kept the motherboard, kept everything except the motherboard and CPU, I'd say, well, that is a different computer then.
Isn't that kind of like what's the distinction that makes you you?
Maybe, but I would say that the motherboard is akin to the torso and the CPU is the equivalent to the brain or heart or both. You know, it's the main bit of the computer, isn't it? Without a graphics card, most CPUs have got an inbuilt graphics card, so you don't need one. And, you know, the power supply is just giving it all power. It's really dumb. You know, it's not in any way, you know, yeah, you need it. It's like food for a person by equivalence, I suppose. Or the digestive system.
Hey, what's going on? Sorry. What's happening with this Bev guy? I wanted to ask you about yesterday's show. What is up with him?
He's slowly having his unique selling point eroded by us, which is probably why it all makes sense now, actually. He's been so gung-ho at us for such a while. We challenged the very integrity of his unique selling point. His unique selling point is not flat. That's it. That's his only unique selling point. We come along and go, no, it is flat. Look, here's how it's measured flat. That's very threatening to him, isn't it?
Well, you know, I didn't know he was in the voice chat on Discord. I felt kind of bad. It seemed like I was calling him out. You know what I mean? Like, it put him in a spot, and I shouldn't have done that.
Why are you apologizing? Don't apologize. You bring him out of the weeds, and he's gotta account for the things he says. He's constantly saying not flat when we have a show called Flat Earth Debate, and we're proving that the Earth is flat. We got a silver bullet, and he's trying to turn it into some sort of bronze freaking cap gun. Is he out of his mind?
Yeah, he did the same with celestial navigation, and that didn't end well either, did it? You can do F all with an angle.
Right.
How embarrassing. Right, well, this is another one of them, isn't it? He says not flat, and we say, yeah, here's how it's just flat.
Brian, I had a conversation with Brian yesterday after it was only me and him, and he seems to think that Bev is right on a few points. And when the guy's right about something, he's not going to say he's wrong. I don't know what he's right about. I still am not clear on what he's right about.
Well, it's a semantic range argument. It's where you don't accept the semantic range of a word because you want a strict definition. And then you don't accept that it can be used as either an adverb or an adjective. That's what an actual semantic argument is. Like if you tell your kid to go get something out of the trunk and you're talking about the car, but they come back in like a smartass and say they didn't see an elephant outside, you know, it's a semantic argument.
We call it a boot. Even better example. Go and get something out of the boot.
That's not a boot.
That's what we call it.
You guys call soccer shoes boots, all right?
You can't make out what you're saying, Gene. But it'd be the same principle.
And what do you?
Go get something from the boot and you come back with a set of laces.
Or check under the bonnet.
Back under the bonnet. And then you go and lift the bonnet of an old lady because that's really common.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those arguments that you can call it pedantic, but that's an actual semantic argument. You're just not accepting the range of the word, and that's all it is.
Which is easily resolved in the processes that we adhere to here, aka not the scientific method, the Socratic method. And that's why you go through what defines a word in its context with its use in that scenario and how it is defined for that use, which Bev, just like you say, just wants to reject. No, it only applies in this particular setting where flat isn't going to be geometric in nature, therefore to assert measured flat is wrong. You go, even in that set of circumstances when you're transposing what you have measured onto the system, which is entirely flat, it's a 2D map, then it's even a struggle, in my humble opinion, to agree with Brian, and in this case it's Bev, about that minor semantic inconvenience, because it doesn't change what I'm trying to iterate to an audience when I say Earth's measured flat. Because it is, even in surveying. But his deviations that are from flat are very much the principle of what's being measured in the process. So I can understand how you can wrangle it into a semantic argument. Does it mean he's got a good point? No. But he's arguing that point because it is very much the unique selling point of what he promotes for his channel. He's not a flat earther, right? So not flat is his USP.
Well, I struggle. Good morning, everyone. I struggle with the same problem in the after show. I mean, after everyone else is gone, we have some people coming in with the same questions. Measuring the Earth is what they are not comfortable with, when in fact we are looking at the horizon and doing a measurement in the form of an angle of elevation, starting at zero elevation from the horizon with a 90 degree. I mean, those are measurements of Earth. I don't know what the difficulty of acceptance of those words. Those are factuals. Now, before even the mariners opened up his box and removed his sextant, is already accounting for longitude and latitude in a 2D plane of reference. Yes, it has been measured, and yes, it is measured every time it's used for navigation. Longitude and latitude are the measurements of Earth.
Yeah, Brian was saying you're not you. Oh. I just don't know why.
Neil, are you cutting out?
I might be.
Yeah, it did for me.
Oh, it's my bad. I hadn't got the output connected, so you couldn't hear any of that. My bad. There was a minute of dead air.
Silence.
I could hear it and you couldn't.
Yeah.
Sorry. Let's try that one more time.
So you can save lives with circles too.
Yes, Bev.
You can do lots with these angles, can't you? Yeah, there's a light in the sky outside, right? You can measure an angle to it.
You don't appreciate how that's used in mapping?
No.
10th. Do you want to call him out as a liar?
He did say to me, you know your latitude instantly with an angle to Polaris, that light in the sky. Have you said that to me?
Said that's what it is. Your latitude is the angle to the light in the sky. So you can do fuck all with an angle. Your latitude is the angle to the light in the sky. You can do fuck all with an angle. Your latitude is the angle. Your latitude is the angle to fuck all with an angle. Is the angle to the light in the sky. That's it. You can do lots with these angles, can't you?
In terms of what you can do with an angle to the light in the sky, you can establish your latitude. So that's doing something with an angle then?
It's just measuring an angle to the light in the sky.
The light in the sky. Have you said that to me?
Said that's what it is. Your latitude is the angle to the light in the sky. That's it.
So So you can do plenty with an angle, can't you, Bev?
It's just measuring an angle to the light in the sky. So you can save lives with circles. You can do lots with these angles, can't you?
That is classic. But I tell you what, I hear Tenth's voice, man. I miss it.
I've been doing some digging, and I've found out there's a lot of diesels that have been fitted with an emissions cheat device.
He's finding your latitude and measurement.
Yeah, it's an angle measurement of Earth as a horizontal baseline to the angle in the sky. Not possible on a sphere as depicted on screen now for my audience.
I don't understand. I'm trying to understand why they say we shouldn't say we are measuring the Earth to be flat.
It's because it scares
Me
them.
either.
It's because it scares them, because I think a lot of people like having a belief. I don't know why, but they seem to want a belief. They don't want the proof. Maybe they see it as the end of an era when we're just proving it and it's not debated about anymore. Maybe that makes them sad. Maybe they're just scared that if they'll come forward and say this measurement of Earth is a measurement of Earth, that's scary. But literally, that's what we're getting. Pushback against measurements of Earth as not being measurements of Earth, or navigating the Earth with measurements, and they go, it's not the Earth. The ballers, that is. Our side just
Nathan,
go,
do
don't
you
like it.
remember when that girl came on a few weeks ago and she said, it's kind of scary. It makes the Earth small.
Maybe.
Something to that effect.
Maybe, but I don't care. It's like, your fear is your fear. I don't care. Yeah, it's measured flat. What's that? Rockets wouldn't exist. We wouldn't have nuclear war. I'll get lost. Go and worry about your stupid nonsense elsewhere.
May I just say that when I run down to the beach with my barometer and I measure 14.7 psi of gas pressure, and then I run up to the mountain and I measure whatever psi, I'm still describing a flat plane and the dispersion of gases into the air, which a flat plane is required for it.
Yeah. That's correct.
It's still a measurement of Earth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, all roads lead to a flat Earth, and we're measuring it. That's the only thing that's being taken in terms of any practical measurement that's going to be claimed to prove a sphere. In this case, atmospheric pressure. Oxymoron measured from sea level pressure.
Coined it a few months ago when he said that it's called flat shaming, trying to flat shame us, and now they think they have a reason to, because we think the world's 2D only. That's their argument, that the world isn't 2D, so it's not flat. It's pathetic.
It is sad.
But in celestial navigation, it must be 2D, because celestial navigation deals with zero elevation throughout. That's why it's a 2D plane. That's why the circles of equal altitude come into place.
Yeah.
Longitude and latitude are a 2D plane.
But Johnny B was going through that yesterday, George. And after he made his example, I was like, no, you can't do that because of waves. And then he was like, well, that's absurd. And I was like, well, that's Bev's crap argument. Bev was like, I'm not making that argument. That's a crap argument. And then I pointed out to him that that was his argument, that there's a deviation in sea level and you take an average for it, therefore nothing's all the same level. It's like, yeah, it is in celestial navigation. And he couldn't concede to it. He rumpused it 4 times when I got to the devastating point that annihilates his entire existence on YouTube as a not flat earther. Because it is.
Well, he says level is horizontal, so it must be flat.
Yeah, that was how the conversation began when he joined us yesterday. Because he's saying, oh, I've only copyright striked Michael Kahn because of the devastating theft that I've suffered. It's just the principle. And then he spent 20 minutes there or thereabouts arguing the toss about the fact that the surveyor says level's just flat. You know, pissing in the face of Bev and his existence on YouTube. But it's not about that. It's about the fact I've been stolen from, according to Bev. But I'm going to be here for 25 minutes arguing the point that would have been a lot easier to avoid if it wasn't just republished and now being talked about in terms of the copyright strike I've influenced this conversation with. You're like, you numpty.
So if he would have, if Michael Kahn would have played that video in favor of his point, then there won't be a copyright strike. That's what I'm thinking.
It's not the point.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah. Bev's point concerning the surveyor, right? And I tried to get it out yesterday, but there's too much going on. Well, I think it kind of got out, was that the surveyor was saying level was flat, which is the correct way to describe level. That's what he was saying. He wasn't saying the whole earth was flat. Now, I understand that for level to be flat and means sea level is a horizontal plane throughout the whole world. That means level is flat and the whole world has a flat baseline.
That's
right?
what I had him on.
That's fine.
You were here.
Right?
That's why I had him on.
I know
right?
that.
He just couldn't concede it.
Point I'm making is Bev's problem with that is that he felt the surveyor was being misrepresented. That's what he was, and I heard him say this, some time back somewhere.
Oh, come on, Brian.
Because the surveyor wasn't saying the whole earth was flat. He felt that it would be a stupid thing to say that the surveyor, to make the claim that the surveyor was claiming that the whole earth was flat. I know I don't agree with him striking Michael. Don't agree with that at all. But I understand his gripe. I understand his gripe there. From his point of view, I understand. That was what he was saying. Well, when it comes to measurement, people think
in the debate,
what?
The last bastion of the globe believer is to say that level is curved. So in terms of context, for me, that surveyor is supporting that the measurements are level and level is flat, as opposed to level conforms to surface level, and that's sea level, and that's curving. That's the last bastion of the globe believer. So in terms of chronology of debate, Bev can argue that, and when he tried to, it's always, well, what I was... Yeah, you're trying to lead him, Bev. And what you're trying to argue is that I was leading him in this direction, therefore his response means this. No, we will take what he said verbatim and repeat it, because you're arguing that level isn't necessarily level, or that level isn't necessarily flat. There's circumstances where it might be curved. That was his argument, until the surveyor disagrees with him. And level is very much flat according to his surveyor.
No, Bev has never ever said that level could not be flat. He would not say that.
I didn't say he did. I said the last bastion of the globe believer is level.
Oh, the last bastion of the globe believers, yeah, they do.
He said to me the earth is curved.
Sorry?
He said it to me.
What?
He said the earth is curved.
Yeah, but
something to that effect.
There is curves, like as in there's mountains, there's valleys. As in, his point was that there is topography. You know what I mean? Topology, whichever.
No
That's his point.
kidding, Bev. Thank you for reminding us.
No, but he's hinting.
Wow, we didn't know.
What Neil's pointing out is there's a certain ambiguity to what Bev will say. That's what you're saying, right, Neil? The way you will phrase those things, like there is curve to Earth, it's a very closed statement that you can take out of context. The very objection he's got to us when it comes to flat. But he will more than happily take that context and put it into whatever subcontext he needs for the point to be ambiguous when it comes to saying, well, there is curve to Earth. Okay, so on surface level, we can now say that you're suggesting Earth is curved. Oh, no, that's not what I mean. And then he'll give you a load of letters of what he actually meant with this stupid statement that made no sense. Yeah? So, for instance, you can do fuck all with an angle. Oh, right. Well, here's 5 examples of things we can do with angles, Bev. No, what I meant is, and here's a load of letters of all this massive amount of words that mean the thing I didn't say, as I try to change history. That's Bev's, that's his MO.
Exactly. And that's what I was trying to tell you, Brian. He's very deceptive and deceitful in how he talks. And that's why I don't want nothing to do with this guy.
It almost seems like a composition fallacy to say that a mountain, which is not the earth, it is part of the earth, is representative of the whole.
It is.
Yeah, but we're going down a rabbit hole that is completely wrong. If flat is a description, a descriptor in English language, which it is, then any surface, right, any surface that can be described in that way within context, then that's the correct way to describe it. I can't describe the surface of a football as flat because it's an incorrect description. But I can describe the surface of my table or the earth as a whole I can describe as flat. And the small scale with topography, you're obviously not measuring everything flat. You're measuring everything from a horizontal plane and elevations, verticals above and below that, right? I don't deny that. But I don't like to just bat away somebody, whether I agree with them all the time or not. I don't like to bat away everything they say just because they say it. And I don't like to have anyone misrepresent the person because I hate being misrepresented. It causes rage immediately. So I don't want
When do we misrepresent him? When do we misrepresent Ben?
I'm saying he does get misrepresented because people don't. He does get misrepresented, and I think personally, I think if he did things differently, he'd have so many more supporters. It's an ambiguous way of going about things, and that doesn't help his case. In my opinion, it's his life, his channel. He can do as he likes.
Surveyors have a purpose, right? They're especially planar surveyors, you know, that's kind of in the title what they're doing. But when they get to a piece of land, they do measure the topology, the rise and the falls, but they have a purpose when they get there. And that's to get everything to a 0 point. Now, is that 0 point across a distance flat?
Yes.
Or not?
Yes.
Well, I'd word that a bit different. I wouldn't say they're getting everything to a 0 point. They're measuring all verticals from the 0 point that we call mean sea level, which is the horizontal.
Yeah. But your reference is part of the measurement. When you get to 0, it's like with temperature, right? So the Celsius scale, and you're basing it off the freezing point of water, 0 degrees. You measure 0 degrees on your thermometer because that's your reference. Did you not measure 0 degrees?
No, well, you didn't measure. It's not the temperature.
But it's not really, because you're not measuring 0 degrees every time. You're referencing 0 degrees. 0 degrees
exactly.
is the reference.
Brian, when
you're not
it's
measuring
0,
it every time. You're measuring whatever. The
what you're doing
or whatever is measuring.
You're bringing into question every measurement ever as being conceptual, because it has an admittedly arbitrary scale that's assigned. So we could say Kelvin, we could say Celsius, we could say Fahrenheit, right? And what's marked as the point that we understand is going to be our measurement. Doesn't matter if it's 0 in the Celsius scale. If we're going to assign it based on a principle, then we will thereafter be taking a measurement. Now, you can argue for the accuracy of the measurement if you've got mercury going up a tube, but a measurement you are taking. But that seems to scare people. I don't know why. It makes me smile. I don't know why. It's clearly a measurement. It's described as a measurement because it is one, but as soon as it has a reference to a flat Earth, suddenly it's not a measurement anymore. I don't get it, but that's what we're facing.
Right. So when that thermometer that you have referenced at the freezing point of water, 0 degrees, made that your reference. When you take that thermometer out and go somewhere else and it shows 0 degrees, is that a measurement?
Of course it is.
Absolutely. And when you flatten out a surface, flatten it out to build upon it, you are getting a 0 and measuring that area as flat.
Hello,
hey, good afternoon.
I come here to chew bubble gum and destroy the flat earth. But I got a lifetime supply of bubble gum, so I may not get around to it.
So I'm here to kick ass and chew gum. I don't know all that gum. It's from Duke Nukem, isn't it?
No, that's They Live with Rowdy Roddy Piper.
As if originally They Live, and just the soundbite is what I remember from Duke Nukem. Fair enough. You gotta love They Live, right?
Yeah, it's really relevant to this subject.
Of course.
We haven't covered They Live for a while. Anyway,
one of the best fight teams.
I'm gonna, for the title namesake of the show, explain why Max Igan's in the title. So I've just, in the pre-show, with a bit of help from the panel, fired off an email to Max Igan. So, to my understanding from what I was told yesterday, Max Igan in late 23 has appreciated that Earth is flat. Now, as soon as I heard that, I appreciate what Max Igan is. He's a critical thinker, and he's got a good way of thinking outside the box. He's also very good linguistically. He's a good communicator. He's also very wise. That's another way of saying he's getting on a bit. But he is a good guy. And I would hate to see that guy, regardless of the fact that he has opposed us, that's flat Earth, in some instances quite strenuously. I would hate to see him now, if he's just branched his way into this subject publicly, fall into a rabbit hole of ice walls and domes and azimuthal equidistant projections with the sun and moon floating over the top of them, NASA, how the globe doesn't work, ether, upward rising Earth. In other words, the feast of nonsense. I would be remiss if I didn't at least contact him and go, hey Max, it'd be nice to give you some really good arguments. Have you got a few minutes to do that with us? So that's basically what I've done. I've sent him an email and said exactly that. It'd be nice, it'd be an honour to give Max some really good arguments, so that when he faces people in this day and age with questions about it, he can give off the best possible answers, rather than potentially speculating about the list that I just gave. So there you go. That's the reason Max Igan's in the title of today's show. There's other good news I'll get to in a minute. Adam, hello.
Adam.
Hi guys. Sure, I've interviewed Max Igan back in the day. Sure, we had him on because he took a compass with him on a flight and tracked it. Yeah, we did. We interviewed him
From Sydney to Santiago.
Yeah, years and years ago. Interesting, because that wasn't his main focus. He's much more into lots of other stuff, isn't he? I'm going to dig that out.
Well, I personally don't have any faith in the guy whatsoever. He got rid of me and my comments when I was challenging him on some stuff, some nonsense he was saying some years ago to deal with this topic. I don't have any faith in him. He's after saying he's turned into a flat earther several times and then went back, and just no consistency. He just comes up. What I heard of him, could be wrong, unless I'm proven wrong, comes up with a lot of conspiracy nonsense. And I can guarantee you, he's more than likely going to start talking about ice walls and all the rest of it. If he is a flat earther, I'd be very, very surprised that he won't just do that, regardless of what to say to him. Zero faith.
Well,
thank you.
I can't say that he won't, but if you know why it's flat, right, you're less likely to put those speculations forward without the disclaimers that are appropriate to them. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. If you listen to some of the Q&A that I did on the politics server, what you'll hear is me making a roundabout answer to their question, peppered with flat earth proof, or use of their question about a globe to prove Earth is flat. So it's often offered up with disclaimers. For example, I don't have to explain what the sun is. Meanwhile, the sun is used to measure angles off a flat plane to navigate Earth with flat. So I'm not answering how the day and night cycle works, but I am using part of the example that I've been asked about, with I've therefore justified not answering why I'm not making a claim about it. There's a heliocentric claim that you've obviously got some concerns about, but when I use it, the sun, it does X to prove a flat Earth. So it's offered up with a disclaimer, yeah? And it might even come with a debunking of how the heliocentric sun and moon system doesn't work, after disclaiming that there's no justifiable reason why I should have to explain what it does do when your claim fails for these reasons. So it's offered up with disclaimer. Right, John, is that what you're driving at, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I'll just give Arwen as an example. He when he talks about those things, will disclaim that this is what he believes. He can't prove it. He'll put a disclaimer and then talk about it, which is okay because you're just, you can't back any of it up. Just as long as you can fit that in there and then stick to your guns through it, and give justification for what you believe.
Yeah, I'm not interested in people's opinions on what things are.
Well, I know you're not, Neil, but some people are.
Yeah, they are. The ones with all the big channels. Because people like fantasies.
There are some good news. A couple of bits of good news, actually. So first thing, good news. I'm getting a new computer. It's arrived today at the shop. So if you check my community tab on Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, you'll see the pictures I got sent by Craig from his shop of the computer. Sat in boxes. Obviously, it's not been turned into a computer yet, but it is the new computer. So that is relevant because yesterday I did a discussion with John LeBon and he was asking about, how do you sustain yourself? And I had to explain that it's very much not from the generosity of YouTube and their ad revenue, and absolutely as a result of the support I get from Patreons and members and so on and so forth, specifically when it comes to things like hardware failures. And this is one of those instances. So this has been paid for by one of my Patreons. I keep meaning to ask him, should I mention you by name? But I haven't got around to it. I've thanked him. But he, like I've said a couple of times in the last couple of shows, he asked, what do I need to do to get your problems resolved? I asked Craig, what do I do to get this reliable? What parts should I order to replace the crap that's in there now? He gave me the parts. I sharp intake of breath when I saw the amount, sent it on to him and went, holy crap, this is a huge chunk of money. I may end up running a GoFundMe if your generosity doesn't extend to cover this. And I totally understand if it didn't. And he just sent me the full amount. So I just called Craig and went, I didn't send him a Skype, but I was like, order those parts. He sent me the money. And then today they came. So as the computer's cobbling along, albeit in a very crappy state, I would prefer to actually round out, like say goodbye to the crap computer tomorrow, because it is still working, right? Craig has also dedicated a chunk of his time, lots of chunks of his time to do such things. So he came over the beginning of this week or end of last, I forget, so many times he's been over now, to make this one cobble along, and it give me the full, yeah, it won't be that great, and no, it won't run fast, but it's working, kind of that spiel. You're like 16-month-old, $6,000 computer being justified by a tech guy as well. At least it's working. but to that end, it is actually working. So we can actually have a live show tomorrow, and then hopefully, although Saturday's his busiest day, I can get it, changed over for the new computer over the weekend. Put it in this case. So that's my plan for this weekend, and it'll be bye to Beast 2.0/VBPC. It's had 3 names so far with all the changes being done. But I'll have to come up with a new name because, in essence, it is effectively a completely new computer once you change the motherboard and CPU. To me, that is the point that it is a new computer now, especially as everything else already been changed, like Trigger's broom.
You can't name her until you see how she operates. Then you can name her. But that's interesting because it's like behind the scenes guys like your friend Craig there that you share curry with that keep the show running, man. Very important people. That's good.
Yeah, well, this entire week's show is only down to Craig. So at the end of last week, the computer wouldn't even come on. Would not boot past Windows. It would immediately crash and blue screen. And he came out and made that stop happening. And now, yeah, it's not got it to the wow. It's a really good PC now, but it works. And as a result, this week's shows have run on a slightly dicey PC, but they've run, haven't they? So again, entirely down to zero money changed hands. Yeah, he even out of his own pocket bought an extra set of RAM, which I haven't paid him for. So the first set, which was on the shelf, has now been stuck on eBay and sold. The second set he ordered, and it was paid for by the guy who originally bought the PC. Big shout out to Paul. He bought that second set, and then I thought that was failing, so I bought, or Craig more accurately ordered, a third set, which I have not paid for. So he's already out of pocket for another set of RAM. Now, that means that when it comes to building it, there's a couple of options for RAM, but ultimately he's out of pocket and been out to the house twice in the last week or 10 days so that we could have this week's shows. And literally, I haven't given him a dime. Yeah, in fact, I owe him money. So, yeah, those exactly. It's a perfect example. Craig's a perfect example, as is Paul. You know, the people that are behind the scenes, not throwing money at me, but, you know, giving me money to make sure that the show keeps running. And I am eternally grateful to them all, because it would not be running otherwise. We wouldn't have a show. So, yeah, shout out to all of you. You're all fantastic. You're all ace. Anyway, the other bit of good news is I suspected I'd had a text from Eddie Bravo saying, oh, great short videos you've been putting out recently. I think he said words to the effect of, they'll definitely grow your channel more. And I'll have to have you on my podcast sometime. But because of getting a new phone, again, given to me by Paul, one of the contributors to the show, but it meant I couldn't and haven't gone to the effort of changing all the phone numbers out from my old phone. So I didn't know who it was. So I'm like, who's this? And it's the third time I've done that. So he keeps messaging me and I've not saved his number or for whatever reason got a new phone. And I didn't know who he is when he's texted me. So I think the last time he had a question about an overcome to an argument from a Glober. But I was like, who are you? And this time the same. Who are you? What do you want? I hope he doesn't find offence in that constant forgetting who he is. But no, it was. He texted me back saying, it's Eddie Bravo. I'm like, oh, brilliant. Well, I suspected it was you, and everybody around me is very excited that I might end up on your podcast, so happy days.
Well, he listens to the show, so he's up to date of what's going on. So he understands.
Oh, yeah, I mean, no doubt. And he's well liked. Everybody who I mention Eddie Bravo to likes him.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. I have a couple of friends that trained with him years ago, and they really enjoyed his company. You know, just trained with him for a weekend in Manchester years back, and they said he was such a good guy, lots of fun, good sense of humour, you know, decent dude.
See, that's high praise.
You
Brian
can
doesn't
tell,
like
too.
anybody.
Sorry. I was just saying, you could tell by the way he is that he's probably a good guy to be around. Straight up dude.
That's my main concern, because I don't know much about Eddie Bravo. Yes, he's given me a really, really complimentary shout-out, which got discussed heavily yesterday on my discussion with John LeBon, my Bonversation. And, yeah, because it was such high praise. But you think, man, I don't know enough about this guy. The only bits I know are the bits that are filtered into our arena, because he's obviously got some crossover into our arena. But then when somebody who's from a completely different field that's so alien to me, again, I discussed this with John LeBon last night, I'm like, because John was like, why don't you just get in a ring with Simon Dan and just like properly punch it out? And then he gave an example of someone who had done that and monetized it and been very successful in doing so. I'm like, no, that's not what I do. That has no interest to me. You know, I'm going to enter into a battle of intellect with these sorts of people, and it wouldn't be Simon Dan. And we kind of got into the wrangle-dangle of how, you know, who would be a better opponent. And what came to my mind was someone like Red Rhetoric. I'm like, I'm crap at maths, and Red Rhetoric is exceptional at maths. Therefore, there's a good chance that he could level the playing field if he could get the subject mathematical enough, right? That would be a good sort of, you can envisage that being an evenly fought battle, if you will. Whereas me versus Simon Dan is absolutely pathetic. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. My point being that when I consider things like a podcast with Eddie Bravo, I think I only have what I do in Flat Earth in common with him, because I don't know anything about fighting, I don't know anything about MMA. You know, I've got a vague idea about it, which I discussed after the discussion with John LeBon. I went into the server and just chatted for an hour maybe with the people that were in there, and said exactly that. You know, talked about what I'd done when I was in a private school. I'd learnt fencing and judo, and ended up getting kicked in the face by a girl, things like that. You know. But that's about the extent of my knowledge to interact with someone like him on a level that, you know, we have a common interest in. And that's it. It's just Flat Earth. So you go, hopefully the conversation doesn't very quickly run dry because we've got so little else in common. But that's the only thing that worries me. Whereas for someone like Brian, go on.
Ask him to teach you some moves. He'll gladly do it. I think the first thing they like to do, because my cousin is a teacher, And he said to me, which made me back up, he said, you gotta know what it feels like to get choked out. So I gotta choke you out first. I said, all right, I'm done. No, thank you. Neil's not getting choked out by nobody.
You're not hearing me. Let me put it into different context. Let's say I said, I'm not interested in cars at all. I've got no interest in cars. I don't drive. I like riding a bicycle. I'm a green activist. I hate them, in fact. And a car enthusiast is talking about flat Earth. And I go, I'm a bit apprehensive because I actually don't. Now, I don't not like fighting. You know, I've watched a bit of MMA. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that's the comparative example. You're saying back to me, well, just start off by talking about carburetors. No, Neil, you're kind of missing my point.
No, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant.
You said ask him to show you some moves. Well, no, I have no desire to acquire self-defense lessons or wrangle him into teaching one of my daughters a bit of self-defense. That really isn't my angle. You know, and I'm sure if I was like, how can I wrangle some useful information that you have definitely got in your specialist field? Oh, could you teach my eldest how to do a couple of throws? He'd be like, what the fuck? What? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he'd show you with his students, though. He wouldn't show you with yourself. Just saying, you're talking and it may come up and you may find it interest. And then you find yourself rolling on the floor with Eddie Bravo.
I think I'm actually going to be in his company, but
keep it on topic. You're there to talk about that topic. Like what he does within the jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, that's a job he's done for years and years and years. He's one of the most successful at it. I think it's like there's no need to go into that topic. It doesn't.
Oh my God! Maybe I don't explain myself right. I have a problem.
I'm not pointing. I'm not talking to Nathan, not you.
Neil, chill out. Right. Well, while they're arguing it, Shatter's Bassoon, thank you very much for the super chat. Eddie is a jiu-jitsu savant. He beat the best ever. Let's just read that again. Eddie is a jiu-jitsu savant. He beat the best ever. Thank you for the super chat.
That's not correct. He bet Hoyler Gracie twice, I think it was, because Eddie Bravo works with a very outside the box Brazilian jiu-jitsu style. He did beat Hoyler Gracie twice. Hoyler Gracie is definitely one of the best. He's not the best of the whole Gracie family, but he is one of the best. But there's other people out there, and Eddie Bravo will tell you this himself. Ask him if you wanted to ask. Like, there's plenty of people out there who are really good, who are in the Hall of Fame within that sport, and you know what I mean. So he wouldn't be saying himself that he bet everyone and bet the best, because it's one of the best of all. Actual best is Marcelo Garcia, and when Hoyler Gracie's brother would have been Hickson Gracie, he would have been one of the actual best. So there's a load of people out there. There's of the older guard, there is Saulo Ribeiro.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Neil. Sorry to interrupt you, Brian.
I like standards. I like to be correct.
Okay.
So that's not actually the best. It's not actually 100% correct.
Imagine you're Eddie Bravo, and for some unfortunate reason, you and I, you being Eddie Bravo, me being me, in this conversation where you've just rattled off a list of people, and I haven't got the vaguest idea what you're talking about. John LeBon did it yesterday. He mentioned the same person that Eddie Bravo beat. And they're like there's a couple of them, right, in the same family. Is that correct?
You don't know about the Gracies?
I'm talking to Brian.
Yeah, there's a whole family. They were the originators of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
Them and the Machados, they were taught.
I don't need the intricate details. I just need
if they
the
don't
yes.
want the details, then why are you asking me then?
Because I'm saying I don't know that my point, if I could get it through Neil's constant interruption, is that I haven't got a clue about any of this stuff. So as soon as we're into this conversation, you're like, well, I'm a stickler for the details of which the person you're talking to, me in this instance, doesn't have a vague clue about. That's my point. I would hate to enter into this exact style of conversation about a subject I don't have the slightest clue about a list of names I've never heard before. And while you're stickler for detail, I'm sitting here, what's going to be my response in this fantastic epic discussion about something I haven't got a clue about? Yes, how interesting.
Well, I didn't. Did I suggest that you should have that conversation?
No, I'm making a point to my audience.
Why are you jumping on me about it?
I'm using you as an example. Chill out. Just making you as an example to say that were I in a position where I'm with an F1 racing driver and he's happening to be a flat earther and wants me on his podcast, and it's an F1 driver, so it's not personal to you, and he starts talking about carburetors when I don't know anything about carburetors, I do, but it's just the example I'm giving, I'd be, oh no, what we're going to do in this conversation when he starts listing off all these famous race car drivers and their skill in terms of their ability to beat him as a racing driver, and I don't know what he's talking about. So me as the guest who's there to be presumably pushed into talking a bit about something with the person you're chatting with, in this case an F1 driver, and I go, that's very interesting, because I clearly don't know what the bloody hell he's babbling about. Well, that could be the situation with somebody who's an exceptionally good fighter and runs a load of dojos and is going to be, presumably, at some point talking about what he specialises in. And for me, I don't know anything about that subject. So it could be very awkward. That's the only point I'm making.
No, he won't. He's going to be talking about flat Earth. He enjoys you as a flat Earth debate king. You destroyed a book. Don't you remember? I effing love Nathan Oakley. That's all he cares about.
I'm sure he's got other thing he loves too, but I mean, I will take it as he only loves me, and that's the only thing he thinks about all day long. I mean, I can think of it in that way, Neil, but thank you. The sentiment's there.
He'll only want to talk to you about one thing, Nathan, and that's the subject at hand. He has no reason to want to talk to you about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's like, that's what he does all the time. It's like this is his topic of interest. Now, this is a bigger deal to him, I would say, than that. It's just a sport. It's what he made his bones at. You know, he's made himself a big name in that. But that's why would he be trying to have a conversation with you about that when he knows you don't do it or have anything to do with it? And he's probably sick of talking about it because everyone wants to talk about it with him. You're not going away.
Perfect. Let me answer you. Same reason you just did. Because you're being, in a situation where it happens to come up. And people want to share their main love with other people that they're conversing with. So, for example, let's say he was listening right now and he went, oh, he doesn't know anything about it. Oh, I really want to share that with him so he understands the beauty that we have within this sport. Man, I really want to share that. Do you see what I mean? And when he gets to that, and I'm like,
yeah,
shit. So, you see where I'm going?
Right. The onus is on you to keep his interest in your topic, though. And one of the ways you could do that is just say, give me any claimed globe proof, and I'll show you how it needs a flat Earth.
Yeah, I'll do all that. I'm certain of it. But in the same way it was awkward with JLB yesterday when he was like, man, Eddie Bravo. I could tell from how JLB was talking about Eddie Bravo that he's an important figure in his life and has been very influential. And when I got a shout out from him, John LeBon was absolutely aghast. Oh my God, somebody who I know is getting a shout out from Eddie Bravo. This is the most monumental thing ever. I've got to talk about it. I've got to go on Nathan's show and congratulate him. That was his attitude. Yeah. Now I'm like, oh, Eddie Bravo. Is he the guy who hangs around with Joe Rogan and talks about conspiracies? That's my interactions with Eddie Bravo. So yeah, I appreciate he's going to be better known than I am, but it doesn't have the same weight that it did for JLB. So like I say, when he started getting into the fights that he's won to lead a super chatter to say he has beaten the best, he alluded to all that stuff, and I had nothing to come back with. I didn't know how to even nod along. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know the appropriate moments to go, that's interesting, because I don't know what I don't know what any of it means, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but you can't be expected to hold a conversation about a topic you don't know. I mean, I did all that for 10 years, and I technically wouldn't get into a conversation with him about that, because it's like, even though I know about it, I haven't had his experience. So you know what I mean? We're wasting my time. It's like, there's nothing to really talk. Well, I might talk bits about it, but I'd be only focused on the one thing, which is the topic at hand. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's nothing to be thinking about. You don't have to think about that. You know, it's like when Tommy comes here, Tommy from Birmingham, the boxer. You don't feel the need to talk to Tommy about boxing all the time because the topic is not boxing. You know what I mean? If you're not getting that.
Yeah, but it does come up with Tommy.
Well, I do and I don't. With Tommy, it's fun because we know it's obviously a physical, it's a fighting sport. Therefore, the jokes about I'd kick your ass or something like that. You know, your bravado where you know it's misplaced, telling a giant monster of a man like Tommy, I could easily have you, mate. Something like that. But from what I see in Eddie Bravo, I don't think the conversation would ever go there. From the limited amount I know about him, I just don't think it would get a rise out of him in a way that I'm suggesting I would do if we got friendly and became, like matey in the chat. I don't think I'd get a rise out of him if I said something like that. Of course I could kick your ass. Look how much taller I am, or something stupid, right? I wouldn't do that with Eddie Bravo. However, in the same way I did do that with Tommy, I would want to do that if I was in front of Joe Rogan, right? Again, another absolute monster of a man. Because it's so absurd. Do you know what I mean? And I might be able to get a little rise, at least a smile I would hope I'd get out of him if I put it forward with enough gusto to semi-take me seriously. You know, I think that would get a laugh out of Joe Rogan, but not Eddie Bravo. I just think he'd be like, what are you doing? Why are you mucking around with this stupidness? You know what I mean? As opposed to...
You sound nervous.
I am.
You sound like a girl getting ready to go on a date with her, like, crush or something.
Exactly, John, exactly.
I'll get lost. You're
You
all
have
bastards.
to remember, Nathan, before you go into this topic, if you were going into one of Eddie's training halls, and Eddie's there, then he's the man. He knows his stuff. That's what he does. In this arena, you have more information.
You the man. Oh, I love it. I'm getting a pep talk from my panel. This is awesome.
Yeah, you have to be like. If I was talking to Eddie about this topic, I would, like, if I was going to go on the mats with Eddie, then Eddie's the man, right? But in this topic, in this arena, I have more experience, more information, more time put in. So in this topic, I would see myself as being the more senior.
That's what I was going to say. Look, but put it in fighting analogy. You're in my gaff now, yeah. You're the subject matter expert, yeah.
Yeah.
And more importantly, you don't go and see a man who's a subject matter expert in something and talk about yourself.
Exactly.
You're going to that guy for a specific reason, not to remind him that you're a good MMA fighter or whatever. You're going to the subject matter expert, yeah? You
Maybe
don't go to a consultant and talk about your model collection or your stamp book. Do you know what I mean? You're going to the consultant for a reason.
Yeah, he wants to pick your brain on flat Earth. That's it. Don't worry about it. You're good.
Fair enough.
Feed him, Nathan. Feed him.
Fair enough. I will do just that. And speaking of which, although we did mention it at the beginning of this show, can I read, as you're here now, Adam, my email that I sent to Max Egan?
Oh, yeah, go on.
Dear Mr. Egan, you have recently come to my attention because, to my understanding, you have gained an appreciation of the flat nature of the world we dwell atop. It would be my honour to offer you the very best axioms and arguments there are for this subject, so that you are not drawn into the speculation about ice walls, domes, maps, with sun and moon floating above them, how the globe doesn't work, NASA and other such nonsense, which find prevalence in this subject area. Instead, and if you are willing, I'd like to take you through the proof, ! Measurements of the flat Earth that are also used to make claims we stand on a sphere. If you would be willing to allow me and possibly my panel of experts in this subject to give you the very best tools to defend the fact Earth is measured flat, please drop me a reply so we/I can make arrangements to do just that. Yours sincerely, Nathan Oakley.
Very nice and open. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
The only thing I don't like is the defend.
What?
Yeah, I did.
How you said
no,
defend.
good catch. I did almost rephrase that, Neil, because I didn't want to make it sound. I also took out the word arguments when I was drafting it, because there's no argument here. Yeah. Now I think I rephrased it in such a way that made it seem like he's going to be on the back foot at some point with someone telling him it's a globe. So when I left that in, it is contextually correct for where he is at. For us, it isn't. You're right, Neil. Good catch.
Right. Would it be better to say to assert it's flat than defend?
That's what I'm thinking.
I still see somebody who's new to the subject as being Almost certainly on the back foot. I mean, unless he's been watching us in 2024, he's going to be on the back foot, is he not? That was my frame of mind. I don't know. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe I'm wrong and you're right. Sorry.
I didn't hear it like that. I just to defend the position in terms of not having to. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine. The way and probably to assert it, there's a lot more gusto behind that. Really, if you can defend it, that's all you need to be able to do.
The way I
well, you could say. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nathan.
I was just going to say, the way I write letters is I write out what I am thinking I need to achieve, and it's normally me-centric when I'm writing out a letter. Then I'll go through the entire letter and rephrase everything that is me-centric to you-centric. I make what I'm talking about relevant to the person that it is addressed to. In this case, it's about Max Igan and his understandings and his finding flat Earth and him getting better understandings and him having better defences given to him. Do you see what I mean? So I tend to phrase letters in a way that makes them solely about the person that's being written to and appealed to, in this case, Max. So it's all about Max. What Max could potentially learn from us, as opposed to what I can teach Max. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, the way you explained his position right now in flat Earth debate, yeah, it makes sense. But I would say assert that Earth is flat and defend any so-called rebuts.
You were here when I asked if you wanted to change anything in that draft, weren't you, Neil?
No, I wasn't here.
No, he was not.
Oh, was he not?
Me.
Oh, I'll take it back. Fair enough. I fired it off just before the show because I didn't want it to go out after the fact. Like, here's a live show about Max Egan and an email that I'm going to draft live. It's like, now we're live. I've sent an email to Max. That's why it's in the title. Let's discuss it.
We're just being pedantic. It's a very well-written letter.
I love it.
I say send it as is.
Oh, absolutely.
It's already gone. From what I've heard. Has he done a video then recently, or has he Twittering or Xing, whatever it is, about it?
I've no idea. Someone told me yesterday in the Discord server after I was talking to John LeBon. So I went in and someone informed me that in late 23, he had done as he had done 2 years ago and come out as a flat earther, but in a more overt way than the last time he came out and then relinquished it about a week later. Do you remember?
Was it relinquished or weren't asked?
I don't know, one or the other.
Deal with that do you know what I mean?
It could be either. I can't remember the details. It was several years ago. I remember watching his video in the forest with his contemplations about the nature of Earth. I remember them. Anyway, there we go. I think you'll agree. You obviously saw worth in having him on Iron Realm, right?
Yeah, he's influential in many places, isn't he, in terms of alternative thought?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I saw it so critical immediately. As soon as I heard that, I was like, he's someone who can definitely help us combat Feast of Nonsense because he's influential in the ACT realm, the alternative conspiracy truth realm. Yeah, he's very influential. And therefore, if he now starts a journey down ice walls and azimuthals, then that's a real shame because he could poison quite a few people. So at this stage, you go, I immediately want to pounce on that. Yes, let's have a chat with Max and go, look, right, we've been here 10 years. Hopefully you've heard of us. It doesn't matter if you have or haven't. Here's some flat earth proofs for you. Not vague descriptions that will take an hour for you to go through with a guy in a gunship or something. Really simple. You can summarize them in a sentence.
Well, it's usually pretty easy to spot when they're faking too, because when it gets to level being a flat plane, they start the glober starts pouring out of them. You know,
there'll be some of that no matter what. So any ex-glober, which is everybody, will always have that certain degree of either linguistic or mental remnants of globe, or linguistically it's part and parcel of the way you have to describe something that's common, like atmosphere.
No, I'm not talking about like how we use words. It's how they think of it, right? And when someone's pretending to be a flat earther. When they're met with those contradictions, they can't keep pretending to be a flat earther. It gets to the heart of it quick. You understand what I'm saying? Like if somebody suggested that he was faking being a flat earther, and that it won't take long to find out if he talks to you or us.
Right. But I'm not here necessarily to decipher an alternative agenda or motivation that Max may have. If his declarations are to be taken at face value and they're short-lived, i.e. he has a discussion with us, he has all the wonderful arguments and proofs and axioms that we offer him, and then a week later he turns around and says, no, but level is curved, or something to that effect, it wouldn't matter. Yeah. We still get the opportunity. Go on.
No, I agree. But usually when you're explaining those things to people, from my experience, I ain't saying all people, it's hard for them to nod along if they're just trying to play a game.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean?
If they believe in their heart of hearts that this is all nonsense and that they've got a little get out of jail for all of the arguments that they're pretending to agree and nod along with, when you come to a principle that's undefeatable from a globe standpoint, they won't nod along anymore because now they're shifting uncomfortably. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons Globers don't come here. It ain't got nothing to do with the mute button being shouted down. None of that. It's because it's really uncomfortable when you get to the meat and potatoes, as some people call it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, it's just too uncomfortable to be here. Yeah, I do. I agree.
Well, you can't even, as John was saying, people who are pretending to be flat earthers. The easiest way to and I've done this to more than one time, several times, to find out if someone is or isn't when you suspect they're only lying, is to throw something at them that will trigger them if they are a baller. Certain things will trigger someone if they're a baller. And once you throw it at them and they start defending something, whether it be gravity or something else, you know what you have then. Like, throw something at them, they'll feel the need to defend because you're then intruding upon their belief.
Give me an example, Brian. What would you throw at him? Something that you know would trigger him.
Oh, I go into gas not having weight and how things weigh more at high altitudes and all this, and you know that's going to trigger your average baller because they're going to start trying to force in a force of gravity, and do you know what I mean? Gas goes have weight, and they're going to, that's what's going to immediately they're going to, have a problem with that. That's just an example.
Black Swan. Just say Black Swan, and for us, Black Swan doesn't need any further explanation. We've detailed it so many times. And if they continue to nod along, then obviously all is well. But if, as John would put it, they start to shift uncomfortably or talking about refraction in a very uncomfortable sounding voice, then you know you've got a Glober in disguise on your hands, right?
Right. If he says, what about refraction? Then you know.
That wouldn't be quite enough because they might be saying, what about refraction? That's the point they destroy their own rhetoric, isn't it? That might be the next sentence off their lips, right? In which case, yeah. Oh, you're in the know.
That's true.
Someone's just had a bid on eBay. Yeah, so that's it. That's Max Egan, and did we discuss Johnny? About to call him Johnny Bravo, Eddie Bravo, enough.
It'd be good when you go on there. It'll definitely help because he's got a big base underneath him, subscriber base and followers, and there's a lot of people will share it because there's a lot of people who are into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu who are actually and MMA who are flat earthers. It's a big thing.
No, is that true?
Yeah, big thing. Yeah.
How do you know that?
I know because I used to be involved in it, and I know about the arena there. A lot of people are. Yeah.
Can I say something, Brian?
I'll give you Eddie. Oh, 1 second.
Eddie Bravo's student brought flat earth to him. That's why he looked into it. So Brian is correct.
Well, I can give you more than even that. What's the man's name? He's the grandson of Cron Gracie is the man's name. He's one of the Gracie family that was spoken about earlier. He was into MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and getting world championships in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and going into MMA and all this. And he's a Brazilian, and flat Earth is bigger in Brazil than anywhere else in the world. And he actually gave up competing and all the rest of it. Sure, he still trains and everything, but he gave up all that purely to promote flat Earth.
Just take Brian with you. If you're nervous, take Brian with you.
Thanks, John.
Well, he won't need me for anything. You know what I mean? But it's massive in that. It's massive in the flat Earth and MMA arena. It's more and more people are flat Earthers. Because they deal with, I suppose.
NBA players coming out.
Yeah, there is.
This is what I fear the most.
Hey,
you see, this is it. So I'm on a podcast. Eddie Bravo's just gone, yeah, there's loads of MMA flat earthers. Starts listening. Then someone else on the panel piques their interest, like Gene's just done. And then Mr. Palmer, you know, and before you know it, I'm excluded from the conversation, just nodding along to how interesting it is. You see what I mean? I can't.
Yeah, but live appearance or a stream? Is this a stream or a live appearance that he wants to do?
He just wants me on his podcast. It'll be absolutely fine, and I'm certain that I can't remember which one on my panel said that it's no, you're there as the expert, and he's just going to be asking you questions about your subject matter expertise. In the same way, right? If I think of, I immediately wrapped my brain once I heard that example. Is like, well, who can I think of that would be like that? And I thought of Jordan Peterson talking to not Eddie Bravo, talking to Joe Rogan. You think, well, Jordan Peterson's not sat there worried about his lack of knowledge when it comes to fighting when he's talking to Joe Rogan, is he? He's going to talk about sociology or whatever it is he's talking about, you know, what his expert field is. That's what he's there as a guest to talk about. So what am I worrying about? You're right.
Yeah, you're not there to do that. You should only be worried if you're and if you were turning up to actually learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Eddie Bravo, you have not to worry about either, because he wouldn't be trying to kill you. He'd know you're only starting. There's nothing to worry about. End of story.
No, I'm
way.
soft.
You don't have to know about any of this. You just have to know about what you know about, and that's what you're there for.
Indeed. And if he just so happened to have Jordan Peterson there and sticks us in a ring together for a death match, it would be very entertaining.
Before Adam goes, I have put something into Master B. If you would mind sharing it, and I just want to go through it before the live show ends. Sorry, Adam.
Adam, was you going to go? Because I was going to.
Go, Adam, go.
No, I was just in Bryce Mitchell. I was trying to think of the MMA fighter that was quite famous as a flat earther. He called out Joe Rogan as well.
Are you doing this
didn't he?
deliberately?
Yeah, on purpose.
Bastard.
Didn't
Right,
they?
I'm going to cut you
Mitchell.
off. Brian, go ahead. It's up on screen.
I was going to do the same thing.
Is this an in-person?
Yeah, I know. All of the panel now, I'm just going to get this out of the way. They all now want to find a segue that I've disclaimed with a slightly quivery voice that John's immediately picked up on and gone, you're scared, aren't you? Bastards. Now they all want to find a segue I can have to nod along to and go, yes, very interesting. Lots of flat earthers in MMA, you say, nod, nod, nod. Sods all of you.
All you have to do, see, all you know what's wrong. You're scared of success. That's what you're scared of.
Oh, shut up. Who do you think you are?
Have to do
Sigmund Freud.
Is when, a lot of people are scared of success. A lot of people want money, but they're scared of money.
Brian.
Things like that. I'm not scared of success.
Yes, you are, because when we wanted to grow this, you wanted to just sit back and stay here. But that's another story.
No, I don't. Right?
High five, Neil. High five.
Yeah. The thing about it is, what's important, this is my advice for you. When you go on there, don't go from thing to thing to thing to thing. Don't just say stuff and move on. Go through the details. Lay out why something is what it is. And even if you only get through 3 topics or 2 topics, that's all that matters. All that matters is that his audience gets to hear invaluable information. That's all that matters. That's all you have to do. And you can do that. You do this every day. You can do it any day. You do it every day. You know, whatever it is, whether it be gravity, anything else, just go through it. And whatever he asks you to go through, to talk about, just start at that and go through and say, if he tries to move on, just say, no, sorry, tell him you'd rather get through the details and to the bottom of it So his audience gets the full of the information. He'll go, okay, he's a very amicable person. He's totally calm.
Now, I think the best thing we can possibly do is I'll pop over to you and you can put me through a rigorous training regime for the next 10 days. We'll get footage and edit it down to about 30 seconds with montage music behind it.
A montage of you just turning from day 1 to day 30 absolute animal.
Yeah, you behind me, running up a hill covered in snow, going, you can do it, just push that limit.
Nah, you missed it. What Brian just said was, Nathan, do what I do, don't do what you do.
I heard that too. Just be focusing on don't be your normal, vague, wishy-washy self where you've gleaned the information from all of us who do all the primary source research. Don't do that. Do what we do. Do that disciplined research that I know damn well you don't do. That's what Brian's saying, isn't he, Neil? I know it and you know it.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, add enough details so the audience get something. Because otherwise the audience will go, wow, Nate really knows what he's talking about, but I haven't got a clue about what he meant. You don't want that. You want the audience to at least be able to go, hang on, let me just Google this thing. Or right, he said this. I think I know what he means. Does he mean this? Do you know what I mean? Little things like that. It's like, but whether the audience going, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about, yet I have no idea what he said. You know what I mean? There's too many times that kind of stuff happens. And you're too good at that. Because you can sit here for 2 hours and, like, straight out, this thing to this thing to this thing to this thing. But if someone doesn't know what you're talking about, they'll just know that you know what you're talking about, but they won't know what it is that you're talking about. That's no good to the audience. No good to Eddie Bravo. No good to you in the long run. That's just my advice. You do it your way, but that'd be my advice.
That was a very long-winded way of saying make sure you give details, but thank you. Okay, right, I'm going to read out Godzilla's super chat. One second, super chat, super fluid. Wait 1 second. I don't know how to explain, quote, Earth is measured flat, end quote. A sextant doesn't measure Earth. Yeah, it does. So when asked, quote, by whom and how, end quote, I'll have nothing, full stop. How do you measure something, quote, flat, end quote, who begin with, question mark, says Godzilla 37. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Who wants to field that? I did in the middle of his super chat, surreptitiously.
I missed some of it. What was the main question there?
He says, I don't know how to explain Earth is measured flat as a statement because the sextant doesn't measure Earth. That's his main point that's wrong. Godzilla.
The sextant does measure Earth. That's the whole point of it.
It does indeed.
Yeah, you reference Earth twice for every measurement. The first measurement you make at port, that's a height of wire measurement. The second measurement you make out to sea. And you correct your second measurement with your first measurement, and both measurements are referencing the surface of Earth. Like you're measuring Earth when you're using the sextant. The proof of that is elevation angles to Polaris, because every latitude is a circle of equal altitude, and the distance between that circle and the GP of Polaris is the horizontal distance that you've measured. That's on the surface of Earth. That's what that grid is. Obviously, it's not painted on, but the grid is based on the surface of Earth, and your measurements.
Ooh, I get to interrupt you with the point you made. And Polaris. Absolutely spot on. When it comes to someone like Gord asking that question, when we discussed this in one of the it might have been after the fact. We might not have got this on a recording. You and I specifically were discussing this, and what you advised was when it comes to someone suggesting this, you would take them just to Polaris. Not the whole grid, but just to the Polaris measurement with a simplistic explanation of the area of equal elevation that you get. Now I'm overcomplicating it when I describe how they derive the inferred minimum to get the R value, but that isn't necessary when someone like Gord says, well, how do you mean measured flat? Well, if you, Brian, if you would be so kind as to explain how it's relevant to focus very specifically on Polaris and its measurement to illustrate this point to Gord. Can you do that for me now?
As in to illustrate why that measurement kills the globe and proves it's flat.
Yes, because in so doing, it's very clear that it's a measurement, but in the process of doing so, that becomes elucidated to Gord to address his question, even though it's not directly addressing it. It's talking about measurements of Polaris, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, okay. So once you take your height of eye at port, that correction will be whatever it is. Let's say it's 40 feet, right, at port. Then you have a correction in the almanac for that. And that correction you will make to every measurement you take. So when you're north of the equator with a marine sextant on a boat in the nighttime, and you're taking an angle between the visible sea horizon and Polaris, once you take that measurement, you will then subtract from that measurement your height of eye correction, right? That will then give you your latitude. So let's just say you got 42 degrees exactly, right? And that after you've done your correction, and this is after you've done any celestial refraction for Polaris, the way celestial body can appear higher in the sky than it actually is, this kind of thing. I won't go into all that now, but that's just that little bit of refraction. So you took your angle between the visible sea horizon and Polaris, and you subtracted your height of eye from that, and you added the correction for the little bit of celestial refraction, and you have 42 degrees. What that says is that you have just measured a straight line between the GP point of Polaris, right, and your where you are, and it is 42 degrees, which means that you're at 42 degrees north latitude. Now, you can do that every night that you can do every night that you're at sea.
Stop.
And you're north of the equator. Hang on.
Just before you do,
no,
go over it again.
Finished.
But where you say say measure, just to go through the same exact thing one more time.
I know that. Yeah. You have just measured your latitude, right? So if you've just, after you've taken your angle between the visible, this is the point I'm trying to focus on, visible sea horizon and Polaris, and you've corrected for your height of eye, and you corrected for celestial refraction, not 7/6 or any of that, celestial refraction. You've then measured a horizontal distance between your position and the GP point of Polaris, and that is 40. You've just measured your latitude, which is 42 degrees north. Now, to do that, you must reference the surface of Earth, because latitude and longitude are based off of using the celestials to place a grid on the surface of Earth. Now, according to our opposition, right, the horizon you're looking at is
I don't want to get into this.
Hang on.
I just want you to. He's just sent another super chat. So, a sextant measures angles, not Earth, says Godzilla. Maybe the words need further defined. Measured specifically and Earth specifically. So I just wanted to drop that in at that point so you can go, oh, well, no, I need to go over it yet again, which clearly you do.
Yeah, you're literally measuring the Earth to get your latitude. As in the horizon you're looking at, that you're using, there has to be the water. There's water at that horizon. That is the Earth. There's water underneath your boat that you measure your height of eye off. That is the Earth. So you're referencing your twice for every measurement. So when you measure to Polaris and you end up at 42 degrees, that means you've just measured 42. Your latitude has been 42 degrees. The only way north. The only way you can do that is if you're referencing the surface of Earth. That's the only way. Now, what people don't understand, because this is, if you leave me go off now, Nathan, the bowlers constantly talk about how the line from the eye that goes at a dip to the horizon, that they talk about when you do the height of eye correction, that line goes up to the eye line, right? Now, you can describe it that way, and it can be described that way. But in the almanac, for the site reduction tables, what site reduction is it corrects, right? It corrects your elevation angles. So you think you have your three angles at pretty good. What this does is it gives you a correction for each one. For if you're here at this time and that's your angle, your actual angle is this bit. This is actually this, which is slightly more slightly more precise. And in the almanac, the site reduction tables place the adjacent of the right angle triangle at sea level. So the nautical almanac is placing the adjacent of the right angle triangle that you will be using, that's your elevation angle, right? It's placing that base of that on sea level. That means sea level is pre-assumed by the Nautical Almanac as being a horizontal.
So the angle is a measurement, and that measurement is of the Earth flat. It is quite literally a flat Earth measurement. You can say, the measurement, hold on. You can say the measurements of an angle. What? So what? You object on the basis that it's not a tape measure and that you'd have to derive your distance to Polaris if you wanted to use the angle for that. Yeah, that's correct. But to acquire it for that process, you have measured Earth flat. That's what the angle measurement that is utilizing Earth flat is. A measurement of Earth flat. There's no other way to describe it.
But what you've done is you've measured horizontal straight line distance, and that then can be described as flat. So technically, when it comes to celestial navigation, and the same with aerospace, you can technically say that you've measured the Earth flat.
That's how NASA describe it. That's how NASA describe it. Flat, non-rotating Earth. They use flat very specifically.
Yes, because they're referencing a horizontal. They're referencing the two-dimensional mean sea level plane. That's what they're horizontal plane. That's what they're referencing.
Yeah, it's
when they say flat.
The same plane that your surveyor would give you deviations with respect to, the flat Earth that's being measured.
Yeah, you see, you're not. When it comes to celestial navigation and aerospace, there's no elevations involved. Aerospace is only altitudes, but there's no elevations. They're not dealing with topography. Even if they're flying, even airplanes that fly not at very high, let's say it's airplanes that are flying from city to city, they're not flying very high. They avoid anywhere where there's mountains or anything topography where they'd have to deal with it. So they take routes that means that they do only deal with two dimensions. And the bigger aircraft, they fly at altitudes above everything.
Trying to read out Paula's comment from the chat. Bible U says, measuring angles is only useful if the surface being navigated is flat, since angles need straight lines. That's what you're establishing with these angles. That's what you'll be doing with the straight line that's using the ground flat when you measure.
Exactly, Paula.
I hope that answers your question, Gord. Good value out your super
I don't know
chats,
what's so hard about this. I'm sorry.
No,
I don't know what's so hard about this.
I'm just thanking Gord keeping the lights on. In many ways, the most important thing that's happened is that he's given me money. As much as I hate to take off the flat earth hat and put on the YouTube hat, he needs thanking and he's getting it. Thank you for the super chats, Godzilla. Sorry the interruptions came from Neil, but you did get 2 thanks for it, so double value.
No, I'm not talking about God specifically. But there's other people that are saying the same thing. You know what I'm talking about. This ain't difficult. Paula just explained it very easily.
Are we still arguing about the semantic range of flat?
Yeah, there's an argument that because you're not taking a tape measure to it, it's not measuring flat. And you're like, no, the angle is a measurement. And a prerequisite is that the ground is flat. That's what you'll be navigating. And the principle of the acquisition of the line itself uses the ground. You're pointing it at the horizon. That's utilizing the ground in your measurement. It's a flat earth measurement. Well, I don't know how else to say these. I can rephrase it in as many different ways as you like.
So wait a second. When we have places that are way too big to be dropping tape measures, and I shoot a laser to measure it, I'm not measuring the area because I didn't drop a freaking tape measure?
It depends, because your laser example may not have any practical application. My measurement of an Earth that's flat with an angle that runs along a baseline of a ground that's flat, the thing I'm navigating, it's not the ground, as our opponents seem to want to tell us. It's very much the ground that we are measuring. People don't want to like it. They want to brace against it. This seems too simple. Surely when we measure the ground flat, it's not measuring flat Earth. You're like, what? What do you mean? Yeah, it is. That's exactly what it is. But people want to brace against it for some reason. Don't get me wrong. We've got Bev in the chat poisoning the live stream chat. But
correct. When I shoot the laser, it's in the air. It's not on the ground. That's why I'm comparing it to.
But we'll always have people bracing against it. Initially, it was bracing against the fact that you're acquiring angles off a flat baseline by saying you can do nothing with angles. That worked out badly for him. His little sound bite of you can do F all with an angle has now been nicely edited by me, with him summarising it at the end of yesterday's live show by going, "Oh, there's quite a lot you could do with these angles, isn't there?" People want to brace against it. There'll always be detractors, and those who hear the detractions, good or bad, you know, you second guess yourself if you don't fully understand something. That's where we're at. People don't fully understand this position. It's almost too simple. Any other comments? With that, I'm going to say if you are.
They're there to make a spot to build on. And I measure out and get a large area to 0. Is that flat?
We didn't go through all of Brian's numbers. I did try.
Don't worry about it. I'm going to go through it with Adam. Adam said there's a unit error possibly in there, so I'm going to go through it with him in a way. Just want to get it correct before.
Well, then it's disaster because it flashed up to the live audience, so someone will come back at you.
Don't matter. I have question mark, correct globe drop question mark. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I won't worry about it. It doesn't matter because when I will get it right, and when it's 100% right, then I'll have it right. You know what I mean?
Did you hear my new computers arrived, Adam?
Yeah, so I saw the pretty pictures of the box. So what we're looking at Monday for that.
I'll see if I asked him. I was like, how much? I want to know exactly the end ticket value. Because I still owe him for some RAM that he purchased. But not only do I want to know how much, I've said, when can you fit it? Presumably over the weekend, being optimistic. But I'm hoping that after tomorrow's live show, because this computer is still cobbling along, I'll be able to get it down to the shop. And I've also ordered another fan to point at the RAM.
Oh, fingers crossed, eh? Fingers crossed.
I've also got a fan that I removed when this graphics card changed. That's a really good fan that I might add as an extra intake, which would mean that this this quote-unquote passive system will have 2 intake fans, a CPU fan, a GPU fan, a RAM fan, and 3 exhaust fans. Now, by my reckoning, that's 8 fans.
I hope they've got LED lights in them.
No, none of it has, as far as I'm aware. Oh, it's also got another one on the new motherboard. It's got a fan on the VRM that's sort of built into the little case that you have with all the ins and outs for the USBs and such like. So it's got 9 fans on this passive system.
Don't forget, you're missing some. You're missing some fans. Don't forget all the Nathan Oakley fans.
Boom, boom. Yeah, but yeah, there's no way I want it to overheat.
Well, hopefully it won't, will it? Hopefully it should.
Definitely not. It's already under control now, but you know, I'm going to power limit the new CPU in the same way I've power limited this one. So I don't see any reason why it could overheat if I've power limited it to within the capabilities of the cooler, and then it's going to have whatever I just said, 9 fans. So it should be all right.
Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Excited to forget about it, if you know what I mean.
It's like Jaws. You don't want to go through that hell again.
No.
You want to tinker with it, don't you? Because it's going to be a new machine, but you want the tinkering to not be because it keeps crashing. It's just because you're refining it.
Well, I was reading a couple of reviews after Craig had recommended the stuff, which isn't really the way around. You should do it. But when you've got a tech guy, that's kind of the point, isn't it? What do you recommend? This. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good to me. If I do get the money, order that. So when I got the money, I was like, order that stuff that you recommended. I caveated it. If you think it'll all work, that is to say, now the onus is on you.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
I'm sure it will. The point is, I then went back and had a look at a few reviews, and people who I'd already seen reviewing the stuff I've got now, moaning about its instability and finicky nature because it's new tech, were saying, oh, this newer chip, excellent in terms of its stability, and this configuration, no problem, and that configuration, no problem, and it just seems to work. You're like, oh, all music to my ears. So I thought about it, and I was like, if I'd have waited till September, there's a good chance, because they're overhauling the platform again, that I'd end up in the exact same position where there's new tech and it's finicky and not quite stable enough. So it's like, actually, no, buying this stuff at the end of its cycle, you notice I'm justifying the purchase I've already made. It's a good thing, I think, for stability. I hope it'll just go in and have no issues. Certainly the last computer had the exact same thing, which was the end of line refresh on a platform. So everything was really stable and, refined to the point where it was running nicely. And that last computer lasted about 8 or 9 years or whatever it was. Hopefully, once this has been changed to a similar type of computer, one that's refined on an older platform, it'll just run for 8 years and I won't give it a second thought. God, I hope so.
What will we talk about? What will we even talk about without a broken computer?
I had to say this to John LeBon last night. He was like, I tuned into one of your shows and you sounded quite despondent. And I was like, actually, that's because I've had a crap computer for 16 months and it's quite depressing. But I still, because once I was chatting with John LeBon, because I'm sure I mentioned this, I kind of given up on this computer a couple of months back. I'm like, oh, who cares? It's crap, it just keeps crashing. I'm not going to piss around with it anymore. I've given up. And since Craig came around last week and got it to work, so it's not even crashing, it just runs like shit. I've kind of relaxed quite a lot. And in that discussion with JLB, he was like, oh, you seem totally different to how you seemed on your show because you seem so despondent. I'm like, yeah, because I didn't mention the fact that, well, I'm sat in front of a computer that's about to be changed and I'm very relaxed about it now, whereas typically I'm staring at numbers and worrying about voltages and all the stupid crap that you shouldn't be worrying about when you're producing a live stream. You want to completely forget about all that crap. But that's all I've seemed to do for the last 16 months. And fortunately, it seems like there's a final opening. The end of the tunnel is finally here. With a totally different computer.
On the air anywhere?
Say again.
Did you record the JLB chat or?
Yeah, but no.
Yeah, but no, but yeah.
So I recorded it.
On his page
I started recording, and then I got connected to him, and he started talking about the fact that Bob Nodell had doxed him, and kind of good riddance, R.I.P., but good riddance was his sentiment, to keep it as nice as possible. He had much stronger words. And then he was like, I'll soon get recording, and no, while we're off the record, I'm like, we're not off the record, I'm recording. He's like, oh, I wouldn't have put it in those terms. Oh, can you edit that out? I'm like, I just won't publish this video. I was like, I honestly haven't got time to edit it out, so I'll publish it. I'll upload it, but what I ended up doing was uploading it with the title "Do Not Publish." And I've said to him, look, if in 2 years' time when you release it to maybe the public instead of your paywalled members, then I'll release it and I'll edit it out because I'll have the time to do it in 2 years' time. But it was my bad for not telling him I'm recording straight away. Because it's meant that I can't publish that video now, which is a bit unfortunate. But no, I put it out live to members, so if you were fortunate enough, there was like 15 or 16 people, maybe a dozen or more people that were watching it live as it was getting produced. So there was me in the middle of it eating McDonald's and me talking to the kids and the wife and so on. It's what will end up being a couple of hours for him, 1 hour for the public, 1 hour behind a paywall, was probably 4 hours of production time. And I, just stuck the live stream up and started that once he started recording. But like I say, I was already recording. That'll just never see the light of day. Unless you're a member, you can join a member and you can just rewatch the live stream if you want to scan your way through 4 hours.
I'm listening to him slag off Bob Nodell, yeah. Funny.
He was absolutely right. So when he said that, it reminded me that Bob had sent me all of his info. I didn't ask for it. Bob just sent it me. Photos and everything. Did you get them?
No, I didn't actually.
Yeah, I did.
What I'd do with a picture of John LeBon? I won't put it on the wall.
Well, the Bob, no, they'll do that.
Because he hated John Le Bon. I don't know why. I'm sure there was a reason if I read
Yeah,
my
but
brain.
that's freaking straight up bitch behavior. I can't stand that, man.
Yeah, I agree. And as I told John Le Bon when he sent it me, I was like, what do I want with this? I don't care who John Le Bon is. But beyond his material, which I quite like, to be perfectly frank. But now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, it's one of QE's. Isn't that one of QE's favorites? Is that the JOB guy?
One of my favourites. He was trying to egg me on to dox him as well, from memory. Shouldn't really speak ill of the dead. Let's change the subject.
Fair point.
Yeah, that got disgusting. Won't see the light of day. The rest of it, an hour of it, he'll release. And what I will do is I will do a little cutout section of it and direct people to his free section where he will obviously encourage them to join his website. So hopefully you can gain a couple of members out of it. Who knows?
Cool. I used to like John Le Bon back in the day, and then he went behind a paywall, and you don't really followed him since. It was a while ago that he did that, so it's good to know he's survived. Is he surviving then?
Yeah.
With this paywall, yeah.
It's one of the other discussion topics that we had. So I'm like, yeah, I survive because I keep an eye on my stats very closely and react when needed. And he's survived because he's managed to build an audience that really values his work and are willing to pay him to be behind a paywall to get his information 2 years early before he releases it to the public via his website, as opposed to YouTube. All he does with YouTube is puts out a couple of minute clips that entice people to go to his website in the most subtle way. Because obviously there's rules on YouTube. You can't just direct people to a website that's yours off YouTube. So he has to be quite subtle about it. But that's pretty much all he does on YouTube now. But I spend a reasonable amount of time on his website looking at his free stuff. I'm too tight to pay for his paywalled content. But he does release stuff from 2 years ago that I'm been around long enough to remember going, oh, maybe I'll pay to listen to that. I really am interested in what he's got to say on that. I'm too tight or too poor, more likely. And then 2 years later, he's releasing it to the public, and I'm like, oh, hey, I would have paid for that. If I had the money to, which I don't. In any event, I'm sure people who hear a bit of his free content will go, oh, you know what, I actually will pay him. I'll become a member.
Is he a flat earther?
We're all flat earthers, Neil.
No, but is he just like not believing in the globe, but he doesn't know what it is? Where's this guy stand?
I didn't interview him, so I couldn't answer that.
So he's wishy-washy. He's lukewarm.
No, he's a skeptic, so he would ask anybody presenting a positive assertion to back their claim. That's it.
Okay, and when somebody comes on, a flat earther, and he says, back your claim, and let's say it's you, and I know the way you would back your claim, that Earth is measured flat, how does he not become a flat earther after that?
I don't know. That's what happened to him when he interviewed me. I presented that in a subtle way that was incorporated into an answer to his question that left him no reason to want to address it or debate it. Further to that, it wasn't a debate, but it meant that I'd communicated that in a multitude of ways. So, yeah, you could ask, or if I was interviewing him now, I could ask, given the measurements of Earth being flat, would you ever consider calling yourself a glober, or I don't know how I'd phrase it. But why? I don't need to seek affirmation like you do, Neil, no offence. When you're like, is this person a flatty? Does it matter?
I just want to know where I stand with people. Are they with us or against us? A lot of people say they're with us, but then they got knives in their hand and they're looking to stick you in the back.
We covered that too. He was asking about whether or not there was any symbiosis with our opponents. So there you go.
Was there any similarities? So is that what you're asking?
Symbiosis. As in, they need us and we need them. Without any flat earth detractors, we'd have no videos to respond to. Without us, Simon Dunn would have no videos to respond to. There's a symbiotic relationship between the two parties. And he was asking, do you agree with that sentiment, that it is, that's my word, not his, a symbiotic relationship? And I said, no, because we're not favoured algorithmically.
Well, at one point in time, it may have been that way, but the understanding in this topic's grown. It's more of a parasitical relationship than symbiotic.
On their side, yes, I would agree. For them, they are parasitic. They will glean our material to get hundreds of thousands of views responding to it. The material itself, never linked to, shared, or alluded to a way of finding it in any way, is suppressed to the bottom of the lists. So what you're left is anything that we do say can and will be used against us to make the profit from all the searches that don't go in our direction for our specialist field. That's the reality we live in on YouTube, at least. Another subject I covered with John Le Bon, which is specifically Simon Dan and his rise to fame and his critical surface puke regurgitation of a mainstream narrative against John Le Bon. For him, it was, what was it again? Ultrasound that John Le Bon Simon Dan responded to John Le Bon about. Yeah, we went through how he's essentially eating our lunch. Keep it in a concise phraseology.
Well, I think that's the point where you've summed it better there. We get nothing out of them because of the algorithm. But without us, people like Simon don't have content. And that's what they're scared of. That's why they've run away, because they can't deal with our content now. That's why they go for lower hanging fruit on screen. Which leaves us where? Yeah, because we are just ignored, aren't we? That's the.
Well, interestingly enough, I was listening to Bev's stream this morning from yesterday, and one of his friends that's on the hangout with him was asking, how come Blue Marble, Science, and Easy, and all these other guys, they keep on hanging around over there? They keep on being in their chat and more or less hassling them. It was saying, how come? Because they're going through contradictions with the globe drop formula of 8 inches per mile squared, and they're all over that. He was saying, how come they weren't over on Ballbusters when QE and Adam and that was going through the Adam's derivation and formula, and how come they're not over on FED all the time? Because his friend is new enough into the arena. He's only into the arena. I think I've only started hearing him on Bevs maybe in the past 2 years, maybe, if even that. And but doesn't realise is go back 5-6 years ago, and there was 20 or 30 of them in here. Do you know what I mean? They just don't come here now. And I couldn't blame them, because they don't, everything they come here with gets shut down. Like, they don't go and they don't get anywhere with it. We just know what they got, which is nothing. You know, no matter what topic they want to go to, they always hit a brick wall, so they don't want to be here. So they'd rather basically throw a Bev. That's basically what they're trying to do, because Bev is annoying them, because he's pointing out geometric contradictions with their claims.
If you give me a minute, I'm just going to nip off for a quick Bev.
Is that a euphemism for going off for a poo?
I thought that was the best response I've ever heard in my life, but managed to get back quick enough to interrupt at the same point.
Yo, you had me cracking up with that. Because it did sound like he was taking a nice dump the way he was screaming.
That's not what Adam means. It's not what I was saying, stop straining. He's saying that there was a point in the discussion where it was extremely difficult for Bev to get around the fact that we're making circles of equal elevation on a plane. It's all the same level. It contradicts everything he stands for. When he got to that point, the crescendo, there's a stony silence. And then he goes, oh, I've just got back from the lav, I said I was going. Total lie. And I was
I know, but I'm talking about when you had him straining.
So at that point, I then said, no, have you just come back from having a poo at the most important point? Which I then reiterated, because obviously I've got his attention, and at the exact same point that it was important to interrupt, previously done 2 times by him, he did interrupt at exactly the same point again. So it's either it's like rumpus. Either I will get to interrupt the most critical detail in this rebuttal claim that you're putting to me, whatever it is, unless I get to interrupt, I just won't listen to it. Or in Bev's case, I'm not going to even acknowledge any of this. I wasn't even listening. I wasn't even here. So you go through it again, and then it's back to, well, the other choice is going to come into play, which is I'm going to interrupt it.
It's either interrupt it, or if you do manage to get it out, just pretend you didn't get it out. To the point that, oh, sorry, I'd gone to the toilet. Really? It was very funny that. I made me laugh.
Total
pathetic.
Scientific.
All right. Is this going to be the end of the show?
You know what we talk about?
No, I think
I heard somebody just try to come in, but I don't know what they said.
Yeah, after Adam was speaking, unless that was feedback.
I said for the guy that he was total time thief.
Just out of curiosity, does Bev hang out in your Discord server, or in Righteous's Discord server a lot, or does he just show up?
Righteous, do you know the answer?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't hang out a lot. Yesterday, he hung out a bit after the show. That was kind of the first.
Yeah, because I can't see Discord. I didn't call him out on purpose, for the copyright strike. I didn't see him there and thought, this would be a good time to call Bev out. I was just pointing out, something relevant to the topic. And then he speaks up. I'm like, wow. That was like, speak of the devil,
Yeah, we had Bev yesterday for a little bit. He was talking in their ever after show. A bunch of guys were talking to him, even Humble. Humble was there. He was talking to him also.
Speak of the devil. Speak of the devil. No, more like speak of the retard. You need to end it with him. It's absolutely pathetic even talking to him. He's so retarded. Did you see my lest we forget treatment on Bevtard not thinking? I think you might want to review that.
When was that? How long ago was that? Oh, well, thanks. I'll go look it up.
I said, I don't know.
I didn't hear you.
Right around Christmas. It was right around Christmas time. I know that.
I agree. He's a waste of time.
Yep.
Are you asking me if I remember? Hold on. Are you asking me if I remember when Timmy got smoked? Is that what you're asking?
When who?
Remember what you said? Timmy's pulling on Superman's cape.
Oh yeah, Timmy's different, but yes, it was Bev tugging on Superman's cape that one time. Yes.
When he said to me that Earth is curved, that's it. I don't care how he's saying it. Just to say it like that, I don't know what to do with you. Maybe not even pay attention to you?
I would say I don't agree with everything that you're saying. Because Bev does make good geometric arguments, and he holds the ballers to task on some very good arguments. I don't agree with all he says, and I don't agree with. I think the way he's gone about things is not after helping him. But with certain things to do with surveying and just basic how we measure stuff in reality in surveying, he really kills the ballers. I mean, he kills them.
That's not saying much.
He actually was trying to have a conversation when he had the subject change yesterday evening, but then turned back into an argument. And
what is his geometric argument? He doesn't know what a horizon is. He actually doesn't know what horizontal is. I'm failing to see this. What's he got? Axioms? He even screws them up. He says level's not flat. Level, flat, and horizontal. They're synonyms. All of them. They're axioms. He's a moron. I mean, I could go around, level, horizontal this, levels that. He even screws, like I said, he screws that up. He did it yesterday.
Exactly.
He admitted yesterday that level was flat. He said yesterday level was flat. He definitely agreed with that, yeah, at one point. His argument is, right, his argument was, and I understood it because I would have a very similar argument, if not the same one, is that if you're saying that, let's just say, horizontal and flat are synonyms, or flat is a synonym of horizontal, then he was saying that makes flat an antonym of vertical, whereas vertical can be described as flat as well.
That's not how I work.
We're not gonna go hit him with the wall. Chocolate's not here. Okay?
That's what they did yesterday.
It doesn't matter.
If you guys don't get this by now, there's no hope for you.
Oh, I get it. I'm 100% correct. I have no hassles. But his point, he was trying to. What?
You're 100% correct. You just said flat is vertical.
I said vertical can be described as flat. Slope can be described as flat as well.
No,
it's a straight line. It's a straight line.
No,
any straight line can be described as flat.
No, it cannot.
Yes, it can.
Level, horizontal, and flat are synonymous. They can't be fucking vertical.
What about Adam's flat screen TV on his wall?
Yeah, here we go again. What about my flat soda?
Well, here you go.
Good point.
That's not the point. The point is you can describe them as flat. I can describe a slope or vertical as flat. Flat is a description. It's not geometry.
Just go ahead.
Flat is
geometry now.
It's not geometry.
I thought that wasn't geometry before.
I said it's not geometry. I said it's a description, not geometry.
A description, everything. Lots of things are descriptions. That doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah, but the purpose of flat, one of the main purposes of the word, is a description of a surface.
A description. That's awesome. But how can level be flat and horizontal, but yet be vertical at the same time? Can't.
No, but level can be described as flat. Vertical can be described as flat. Slope can be described as flat.
No, it cannot.
Yes, you can.
No, it can't. Dude, I'm telling you. Level, horizontal, and flat are synonyms. These are just axioms. There's no way out.
Well, I don't agree. I would
not
say
agree, disagree genre.
But it is. Everything's up for agree or disagreement. Everything's up for agree or disagreement.
No, it's
if
not.
Something doesn't.
It's not a subjective topic.
Well, I don't see why vertical and slope shouldn't be synonyms of flat. Shouldn't be a synonym of them as well, because they're straight lines. I don't see the problem.
I'm going to take this computer down hopefully tomorrow after the show. Starting stuff. Crashed. Has it died?
No, you're good.
So where do we stand?
Stand over there, Neil. What's the problem?
I stand flat, apparently.
Stand flat against the wall.
Good one, John.
Put your back flat against the wall.
Noticing that to change the context, you had to add against the wall.
Yeah, but it's not going to stand flat against the wall. You got to lean something. It is not going to stand flat against the wall.
You can stand something flat against the wall, and you can hold it there.
Yeah, you hold it there, but you ain't standing it there.
My mirror's laying
You're making
flat.
a parallel with the vertical.
My mirror's laying
I mean?
flat against the wall.
Yeah.
And nothing's holding it there.
Irrelevant. You change the context of the word when you say against the wall because your reference is now the wall. How are we not getting the semantic range?
But you say you were the person who brought up laying yesterday. Hang on a minute. You said laying flat. You added in the word laying. Right?
Yes, and then you added in against the wall.
And I said, yeah, you can say you're laying it on laying flat. Most people would say, yeah, you lay it on the ground or you lay something horizontally. Lay down on the bed, right? Down on the bed. But you can also lay something against the wall or lay something flat against the wall. Sorry?
I said I'm standing flat, and Neil laughed because without the context of laying flat against the wall, you don't have the context there. You see, you got to put against the wall.
You can say that you're standing up straight.
Never mind. You don't want to know.
No, you can say that you're standing up straight, and that would mean that you're standing vertical, and that can be described as flat. I mean, flat is, but not really, because flat is
No
way!
Flat is a description of the surface of a surface.
You keep on saying description, dictate from Cambridge, level, not rising or falling or higher on one side, but even in all directions, horizontal or flat. Period. End of story.
I didn't hear vertical in there at all.
Heard the opposite of vertical. It's not rising or falling or higher on one side than the other.
Yeah, but that's a way of you're describing it as flat.
There's no argument here.
There is. You can describe. Yes, there is. I can describe the wall I'm looking at now as flat. I can describe a slope as flat.
Listen closely, Brian.
I've heard it.
Not rising or falling or higher on one side, but even in all directions, horizontal or flat. It's over.
That's level, yes? The definition of level.
Horizontal or flat.
Yeah, it's a way of describing it. Flat is the descriptive.
I'm describing the fucking definition to you, and it's antithetical to what you just said.
That's right.
No,
your description.
No, it's not. Right?
Yeah, it is.
Horizontal is an orientation. Right? Level and horizontal are the same thing. Right? Now, flat is a description of it.
Here we go with this.
The orientation has flat has no connection to orientation.
Not rising or falling or higher on one side, Brian.
That's level, Huey.
Or horizontal or you know what? It ain't worth it.
No self-censored swearing, please.
I'm totally. I'm 100% confident that I'm right.
You are butchering the semantic range of a word and making it plain outside.
And you also said you don't agree with some things in a dictionary. You know, what's a dictionary for?
Who said that, Ian?
Somebody said that yesterday. You don't agree with the way it's described in a dictionary?
Yeah, I said that vertical, that flat should be a synonym of vertical too. Because it's a straight line. And slope, because that's also a straight line. There are three straight lines. Horizontal, vertical, and slope are all straight lines. They can all be three different planes. So if you're talking about a surface, you're describing the surface. You know, I'm talking about using flat as a descriptor. That's the point.
Right. So outside the context of what we're discussing, you can make that argument.
What do you mean, like, John?
Because you're talking about orientation when you say horizontal and vertical. So it limits your semantic range of the word flat to only be a synonym to horizontal when you're talking about those specific things. Now, if you're talking about vertical as a line and you want to give a general description, yeah, you could say that in relation to nothing else, vertical's flat.
Yeah, but why can't flat be a synonym of vertical then?
It's not a non-binary description.
So what did you mean by that, Nathan? Please.
When you're describing orientation, you could call it a cis description.
Would you expand on that? I don't know. I don't understand what cis is and non-binary.
Orientations.
Are you talking about sexual orientations?
Aren't we all? I'm glad we got that cleared up.
I think I got the point because when you paint your wall, flat paint. So I guess walls are vertical, and yeah, you're right, flat.
See, the semantic range dictates how the word is used. Like when I said standing flat and people laughed, but standing flat against the wall. Oh, so you're going to change the context of how you're using flat. It's no longer an orientation with respect to Earth, but it's an orientation with respect to this wall.
But it's not an orientation at all, John. That's the point. Flat is not an orientation. Flat? That's my point.
When you're talking about orientation, when you're talking about orientation and you say flat, it's a synonym to horizontal and level.
Yeah, but I think it should be a synonym also to vertical and slope.
Okay, we've gone through this 4 times.
No hassle with it being.
It needs a qualifying statement or a qualifying word prior to it. He just gave you the example. If you say standing flat, it doesn't sit right contextually because it sounds like standing. You wouldn't describe it with orientation, so it doesn't quite sound right. But when you say standing flat up against a wall, you've recontextualized why you'd use flat, like straight with your back up against it flat. Flat up against the wall needs more context to change a word flat that could be used for orientation and is typically used for orientation, which you say it's not, to have the context make sense when standing flat up against a wall. It needs a few more words to make it make sense, not when you're describing it with respect to an orientation. As soon as you say, it's going to be laying flat or it's just going to be flat, instinctually most people envisage an orientation contextually. Now, it might be that your context doesn't infer an orientation, but in the subcontext of what we discuss, it does. Flat and orientation are synonymous.
Yeah, I see. I have a problem with what you said because John saying standing flat, right, is a category error because he's describing what he's doing, not describing a surface. Do you know what I mean?
Right. I'm using it as an adverb.
So John, excuse me, I listen to Nathan. Allow me, please. I'm not allowed to respond.
Hold on, Brian. Hold on, stop, both of you. The reason he's stopped and interrupted you is because he's correcting you on a use of English grammar as opposed to an argument point. And he's saying, no, it's being used as an adverb. Again, we went through this yesterday. Or Adam did.
I don't. Yeah, but his use of it is incorrect. That's the point. He's saying it's not used to describe what they're doing. Flat is not a doing. Flat is a description of a surface. It's not a doing. You could say that, yeah, you're putting the paint onto the wall flat, although no one would say that because there's no reason to. But that doesn't work either. It's describing of the wall. It's flat.
But you could say that about any word. Same goes for straight. Okay, in what context? Well, he was running straight. laying flat. You know, it depends on the context. Like they've said, or Adam originally was the one to point it out. It's the context, using it as an adverb.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is flat, right? We might be trained into instantly connecting it to horizontal, but all it's actually doing is describing level and describing horizontal.
No, that's what you want it to do.
It's not about what I want it
That's
to
what
do.
you want it to do for your argument to make
I'm confused.
sense.
I'm confused.
I'm sorry.
Hold on, I'm confused, John. When you say what he wants it to do, it isn't doing anything. It is what it is. As an orientation,
okay,
it's acceptable as a word. What's the problem?
When you limit the word, right, and say it is only this, then you can't just deny the semantic range of a word. And when you put it in context, you have to accept it how it is in context. Like I said with the trunk, you know. So in context, flat and horizontal, when you're talking about orientation, are synonyms.
Flat is a description of horizontal, because horizontal is a straight line. So horizontal can be described as flat, level can be described as flat, but so can vertical and slope. They're all straight lines. You're describing it, the surface of it.
Slope's not a straight line.
I don't get it, man.
Slope is a straight line.
Oh, brother.
Hey, can I just jump
But
in?
Slope is not a curve.
That's like bendizontal.
Can I jump in real quick? I just listening to you guys go back and forth.
God.
Hello.
Go ahead, QE said.
What? No.
I was gonna say, I agree with QE because technically, like, I get what you're saying that the wall's flat, but you don't call it flat, you call it upright. Like, you don't say that wall's flat, you say it's upright. Like, I'm just saying, like in building terms, like when we're doing stuff, like the walls around you that are
upright
vertical
is what it
are
is.
upright. Right.
Yeah, upright is what it is. You're talking about the surface. It's a description of flat.
Right.
You don't describe the surface as upright.
And again, but the reason why you wouldn't say flat, because flat by definition is no change in elevation from end to end. So if you have
that's a description of level.
And once again, I think that's where John's trying to tell you that you're just like twisting the words. And I guess you can, like in common language, you do that with everything.
That's incorrect. You have to just bring them up with two examples there where we're incorrect. Upright is what it is. Flat is a description of the surface.
No,
you didn't describe level. You then described
That's
level.
The whole point.
You then talked about level, and flat is a description. Level is horizontal. They can be described as flat.
Again, like I said, you can say that. You can say that because we do use words badly like that, but like accurately, like by definition, if something's flat, it's not changing in elevation horizontally. So like if you say like you can, that's why I slope it. That's why again exactly. That's why flat equals level and level equals flat because of the same thing. Yeah.
No,
like that's what's really weird.
Stop. Yeah, I can't step in. Sorry, Apocryphon. It's not equal to. It's not equal. That's synonymous. That's different.
Yeah. Sorry. That's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, what Brian's arguing is that you can easily suggest, although it isn't, a synonym with flat to upright or a wall that's moving in that direction, that orientation. For example, a flat screen TV. Well, what are you going to describe your flat screen TV as? A table? No, it's obviously going to be on the wall and it's obviously flat. That's how it's literally labelled. Flat screen TV. So Brian's saying, therefore, ergo, it should be a synonym when describing both orientations, as opposed to what it actually is, because Brian's completely wrong, synonymous with being level when you say flat. Linguistically.
Completely wrong. Right. It's only synonymous with being level because nobody came along and pointed out that it should be also synonymous with being vertical and slope.
Have you been swapping spit with Bev? Are you the arbiter of how we define things linguistically? What's going on?
I'm the person, nothing to do with Bev. I haven't been speaking to Bev outside yesterday. I've had no communication with Bev since, I don't know when the last time was I had any personal communication with Bev other than on your show here at any time he came in. I'm the person that pointed out when people were going around saying it's not flat because of topography, that flat is just a description. I'm that person. Now, if you want to make flat definitely a horizontal, and a flat is a horizontal, and that's what horizontal is, and you leave out the description part, then when someone says to you, when you say hashtag measure flat, and someone says, well, what about surveying? You can't then go saying, well, it's only the description. At that point, you can't say that. Because you're making placing it into geometric terms, you're making a geometric claim with it at that point. When you move it away from the one being a description, you're using it with it. Excuse me, John, just 1 second. Let me just finish this. When you move it away from being a description, then at that point, when you're dealing with geometry, you're trying to make it into a geometric claim, and that will fail.
So we either use it how you say it's going to be used, or we're not allowed to use it. Right?
Wow, what a monstrous straw man. John, you can do whatever you want. I don't care what you do. I'm telling you that I won't be treating it as anything else but a description, because that's what it is.
Oh my God. It's literally not, though. So
it's literally a description in the English language. That's what the word is, a description.
This isn't debatable. It's not just a description.
Obviously it is, because we're debating about it.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. No, it's not.
Hey, what's the word where is it contradiction? Like you can't, or what? I'm trying to remember the word. Like saying a flat slope. Like that's a contradiction, or what is it called? Like I forgot the word for it. Like that. That's you can't say that because it's
a paradox.
Because it. Yeah, maybe that.
You're describing the surface of this. You're describing the surface.
I get Brian's objection, right? Can I just summarise on your behalf, Brian? Right. So Brian's objection is to say that it is only synonymous with level when you say flat would mean that you cannot have mutual inclusivity when describing something which is the antithesis of horizontal, that's vertical, as being flat also. So you have what seems to be a contradiction in terms. For it to only be synonymous with horizontal, you could never, by Brian's logic, describe a vertical surface as flat, and yet you can. Therefore, according to Brian's logic, it should also be synonymous with vertical. That's Brian's argument as I understand it. Am I correct, Brian? I'm not agreeing, I'm just summarising.
Yes, and slope. Both vertical and slope. It should be synonymous with it, horizontal, vertical, and slope. So anything that's a straight line, there's three straight lines. So how are you going to describe, if you turn them straight lines into three horizontal, vertical, and slope planes, how are you going to describe it? Like the lean of a roof. Let's say, a roof. How are you going to describe the roof? The slope, only flat.
Smooth.
How else can you describe? Yeah, but smooth is a synonym of a flat.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
How are we going to describe
just to conclude, yeah, there's an ambiguity in linguistics. That was a bit of a mouthful. That is worthy of discussion, but ultimately it is contextual to what you describe. Certain things will sound wrong if you describe them as being flat in a vertical orientation. That's just the way it is. Linguistically, that's just how English is. Now, you're saying, as a pioneer, it shouldn't be that way, and I don't agree. Sorry.
What would sound wrong when you said there? You said some things. Excuse me, I'm Belgian. Some things would sound wrong vertically if you use the term flat, but not as a description. Flat as a description. What do you mean? Like, can you give me an example?
It's an adjective. Standing flat.
Yeah, but standing is a doing. Flat is not a doing.
It's an adverb.
You know what I mean?
Adam's covered this. Adam, explain it again.
Is Adam there? Just real quick. That's why I was saying.
Hold on,
Brian,
Adam's busy. It only makes sense. It only makes sense as a noun. An upright section of painted stage scenery mounted on a frame. That's the only way I see smooth or being flat, being vertical, is in this as a noun.
I think Nathan, you summarised it very well when you said it's part of the nuances of the English language. And there are certain ways you use it which just don't make sense, but that's English. Unfortunately.
Yeah, like a mirror. Like you could I was thinking that's why I understand what Brian's saying. Like you could say like a mirror, right? Like you would be like, oh, this mirror is flat, and you hang it vertically on the wall, and you're like, oh, that's a flat mirror. But it's just a way the language is weird. That's why I was like, I get what you're saying, Brian, but like technically, there's a word for flat. And I guess you could just throw it into this vertical position and say it's still flat. But I don't know. That's why I was like, that would just be more called upright.
Yeah, but upright is what it is. Flat is a description of a surface. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
You're describing your wall. Your wall is upright. That's what it is. But the surface is can be described as flat. Like, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, no,
like
I know.
Your table is level. That's what it is. Your kitchen table, but the surface of it can be described as flat. It's a descriptive word. Flat. It's not part of geometry. You won't find flat in Euclid's elements or Pythagoras. No one's the Babylonians. None of them are placing flat into geometry.
Well, I'm just saying. For instance, let's say if you had, let's say you built a wall. Okay, like let's say you built a wall, and then you're not gonna be like you're not gonna tell someone, hey, put that flat right there. No, because flat means horizontal. You're gonna tell them, hey, put that upright right there, because then that means to raise it up. But then you would come in and be like, okay, now that it's up, and you rub your hand up and down, you put a level to it, and it's like plumb. And you're like, all right, that's a flat wall. I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying you don't usually talk like that.
Yeah, I think you can't use flat in the wrong way. You can't use flat as a doing or as a what is. Do you know what I mean? Like upright is a what is. The wall it is upright. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
its surface can be described as flat, and you can place a spirit level next to it and make sure it's plumb, which is level in the vertical. If you understand what I mean.
Right.
But
he's got a point there. That is true. When you put a level on it, it is level on the vertical. You're right.
Right. That's it's representing 9 degrees to the.
You're out of your fucking minds.
Yeah, y'all went retarded now and completely thrown the whole English language out.
If you're leveling something on the wall.
Yeah, but plumb is level in the vertical. You know what I mean? Because if something is not plumb, it won't be perpendicular to the horizontal.
So you've thrown out one word, now you're just going to keep on throwing out all words. That's
what word did I throw out, John? Which word did I throw out? Hang on. John is not just saying I threw out a word.
You threw out flat as an adverb.
I didn't throw anything anywhere. I'm just pointing out something about it.
It is only a description. You said it is only a description, which is an adjective.
I said it is a descriptor in the English language. I didn't say it was only a descriptor. I said it is.
A description. You said flat is.
You're adding words in, creating straw man arguments. Again.
Flat is not only a description. Do you agree?
Flat is a descriptor. Do you disagree?
I did. Obviously, I do. You can use it as a description. That is my point. Did you miss that?
So you agree it's a description then?
No. It is not just.
So if I can't use it, I can't use it geometrically.
You are using a composition fallacy at the moment, I believe, is where you take one semantic use of a word and say that's the only way you can use it. And that's your argument.
I say what? But see, the thing about it is, I'm not here. Like you're saying, I said this and I said that. Things I haven't said. Why do you need to? So if your argument is so strong, if your argument is so strong, why do you need to strawman me?
I don't think Brian said only.
Is flat only a description?
Well, what else is it, John?
An adverb. Like
And what's
we've
an
been trying to
adverb?
tell you for 2 days
What's an
now.
adverb? What's an adverb?
I'm not going to teach you English. No.
Well, okay, then
This
don't
is
answer
wrong.
the question.
No.
We'll keep
Yeah,
going as
I'm
we
not
are.
going to answer
When I
what an
ask you what's an
adverb is,
adverb,
Brian.
I'm asking you what an
I'm
adverb
not doing this with
to
you.
you to define this adverb, and you're not doing it.
Are you serious? You want me to define what an adverb is?
I'm asking you what's an adverb, and you decided to, instead of just answering the question, you decided, I'm going to be awkward. That's what you decided to do.
It's like, can you tell me what water is, Brian? Can you tell me what a cup is? Like, what? Are we really going to descend to the English language to this level?
We're having,
you refuse to accept that the way you're using it is just one use, and in context, it is wrong. You just won't accept that.
What context is it wrong in, John? The way I've been using flat.
As it relates to orientation, I think
I never connected it to orientation. Never did I did the opposite. I said it has no connection to orientation.
What is vertical and horizontal?
They are orientations.
All right, I'm done here.
Now, so you don't have any support then for what you just said, that I connected to orientation, which is what you said. You said I connected to orientation when I actually did the opposite. I was using it as a descriptor of a surface. What you can do then, John, you can do, personally, what you should do is go out there and show everyone flat in geometry. Show them flat, draw me a flat. Draw me a flat, John. That's it. We have to get stupid, then we will.
Right. Well, it's like draw you a level or draw you a level line. Draw you a horizontal or draw you a horizontal line. Draw you a flat or draw you a flat line. What are you really at?
So you have to draw a line. So you'd be drawing a line.
Under those specifications, you cannot show horizontal, you can't show vertical, you can't show anything because you have a limit on the amount of
horizontal is an orientation.
You're La La Land with this now.
No, horizontal is an orientation.
You hit yourself in the face like 6-7 times now.
Not at all. Horizontal is an orientation.
An argument.
Can you two take a breath? Hold on. Just let each other get to the end of each statement, because you're getting more and more angry with each other.
Because he's strawmanning me. Well, he's trying to
appeal to me. Just let him get to the end of each statement. Like I'm interrupting you now, it's irritating. Just let him get to the end of the statement. That's it. And you, John.
All I'm saying is when you're talking about an orientation, flat, horizontal, and level are synonymous. Now, you can take the adjective of flat and apply it as you would smooth in our language. That is part of its semantic range, but it would be incorrect to do so when you're talking about orientation.
That's unbelievable, John. That is not it's like, wow, what a heap of complete and utter rubbish. For a start, right, flat is a description. You can describe horizontal as flat. You can describe vertical as flat. You can describe slope as flat, right? Smooth is smooth to touch. It's touch sensitive, right? It's a synonym. It's a synonym of flat. Okay. Now back to what I asked you, which is draw me a flat, and you can't. Right. You can draw something and hang on. I have not finished. You can draw something and describe it as flat. Very big, very different thing, John. You have to describe the thing as, you can draw a triangle and describe it as flat. You can draw a circle, a square, etc. Describe them as flat. You can draw a line and you can draw a line and its orientation can be horizontal and you can describe it as flat. Or you can draw a line and its orientation can be vertical and you can describe it as flat. You can draw a sloped line and describe that as flat.
What?
You're not listening.
I can draw a triangle and describe it as flat?
He's not listening. He's not listening. When you are talking about how something is oriented, okay? Not the description of the word. When you are in context, flat and horizontal are synonymous.
I don't disagree with that. My point is that vertical and flat should be a synonym of vertical too, and slope. That's my point. I'm not saying it shouldn't be a synonym of horizontal. I didn't say that. I didn't say it yesterday. I didn't say it today. I said the opposite of that. You're saying I'm not listening.
You said
but
it
it's not
should
me
be.
who's not listening. Yeah,
Obviously,
I never said it should be a synonym of horizontal. I've never said that. I said the opposite of that.
See, this, oh my God. How are you not getting the semantic range on this? Okay? As an adjective, right? You can describe vertical as smooth or whatever you want to describe it as, straight. But you can't say vertical is flat. You don't stand flat.
Yeah, that's a
unless you put it in context with another word and change the orientation in relation to something else. But when you're talking about earth, flat and horizontal and level are synonymous. Why is this so hard?
How many times do I have to hear that? I mean, my God, maybe tell me another 90 million times. I am fully aware that flat and horizontal are that flat is a synonym of horizontal because horizontal and level can be described as flat. My point is that I have no issue with that. I have an issue with the fact that vertical doesn't have flat as a synonym and slope doesn't have flat as a synonym because they're lines too, straight lines, which can be a plane, which can, then the surface of that plane can be described as flat.
Right. So when I put up a vertical wall, I tell everybody, put it up flat. It doesn't make sense.
You're not going to say that.
You have to put it
that because you're not going to say that.
Right, because you're working outside its semantic range.
You're talking about
not understanding, and you're having an argument about language that you don't understand.
You're not understanding. You keep on keep using straw man arguments, and you keep on trying to use scenarios where flat doesn't fit. Flat is not a doing. You can't do flat.
You just said vertical and flat are synonymous. I used it where it should be synonymous, but it's not.
Vertical is an orientation. Flat is a description of a plane that it can be vertical.
And when you were talking about in relation to Earth, flat and horizontal are I can't do this. I'm banging my head against the wall at this point.
My God Almighty. Do I have to hear that flat and horizontal, that flat is a synonym of horizontal? I can't believe that you're saying that to me again.
Guys, listen. Synonymous means exact or nearly exact. Nearly doesn't necessarily mean the exact same. That's what synonymous could mean.
Connected to. Similar.
It could be connected, but it doesn't have to mean exactly the same. Let me read it again. Words having the same or nearly the same meaning. Right?
Are we defining what a synonym is?
Well, yeah, why not? We're using the word all the time.
That's what it's
very
gotten
appropriate.
to.
I was going to commend you. Very appropriate.
Anyways, I gotta go.
I still don't see how vertical could be flat. Sorry.
The surface of the wall that is vertical, that can be described as flat. You can place a mirror that's flat against that vertical wall. You can place a flat screen TV up flat against that vertical wall that the surface of is flat off.
No, flat screen TVs are in the vertical, so they're not flat screen TVs anymore.
What about a block of flats going up vertically, getting higher and higher?
Yeah, but them flats are on the horizontal. The block is vertical. That's true.
Even you want to recontextualize it to make verbal sense. I knew I'd trip you up. So you concede then?
No, I didn't concede anything. It's that you're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm wasting my time.
You're saying when I say flats...
Nathan just set you up.
You keep trying to make flat a geometric claim. It is not. I'm sorry. Flat's not part of geometry.
I'm not talking about geometry. I'm talking about apartment buildings. I'm saying that contextually, when I say flats, you immediately and instinctually understand that they are...
I knew what you were saying. And I went along with it. I honestly have no doubt about it. I knew exactly. It's not like, I have them now. No, Nathan. Adam wanted to say something.
Flat-chested girl.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. She's vertical until she lays down.
Well, that depends. Are breasts categorized in the horizontal or in the vertical?
Are they geometric?
Are they geometric? It's a good question.
I just said when she lays down, yeah. But when she's standing upright, she's still flat-chested, but she's vertical.
But when we're looking,
I think
we are
Brian's
really
gotta win.
Mostly assessing them on their horizontal prowess, are we not?
I get what you're saying. You're saying that we value them in the horizontal position the most. I get you. That's funny. Inappropriate and funny.
In their own ways, they're both right. Just arguing from a different position, I think.
In this arena, we're dealing with geometry. Would you all agree? I don't think you need to answer that, right?
Well, it depends on the arena.
Precise,
in the topless female boxing arena, possibly not.
I knew it.
We call that foxy boxing.
All right, Brian, we agree.
Yeah, but the whole topic has become a joke. So what's the point? Just let it off.
No, you were saying that we agree that it's geometry.
Measured flat and keep getting pulled apart. Keep on having to go, well, it's only a description, because that's what it is. While now you're trying to make it a geometric claim. It's not geometry. But if you want to try and make it into geometry by saying it's synonymous of horizontal level, great. So make it into geometry. Draw me a flat.
I'll draw you an apartment.
Flat what?
Exactly. You must draw something and describe it as flat. That's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, I just want to let you know, like, I'm not chiming in or anything, but I'm definitely on your side. I mean, if we're going to say something lies within a plane, well, it can lie within a vertical plane or, et cetera, right? Obviously. And then how do we prove what plane it lies within? So yeah, we have to get past this whole flat conversation and put it, take these axioms and put them into practice for sure.
Well, flat is just describing the planes, the surface of the planes. That's what it's doing. It describes.
Yeah, but there's nothing in reality that's
described as flat. Yeah. A straight line can be in any orientation, but you can still describe it as flat.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you again. Yeah, but there's nothing in reality that's flat. Naturally.
So you're saying. So you're saying when you take a.
There you go. He's after making the mistake. Well, I don't know if you're just having a laugh here or not, right? But no, when you just said there's nothing in reality, no, flat is a description. We describe things as flat. So flat is not part of geometry. So when you say there's nothing in reality that's flat, that means that you're placing flat into geometric terms and it's not part of geometry.
Good point. So but there's so then I should have maybe better put it. Yeah, maybe I should have better described it as that there's no such thing as a line in geometry in reality, because it has no dimensionality to it. So it's something that we implement.
The horizon is a line.
Yeah. Right. Sure. I mean, yeah, but you have to put a line on it. Yeah.
See, no thanks. You're immediately into a world of hurt, aren't you? You've only been in the conversation for 35 seconds.
Yeah, the horizon makes a horizontal. All horizontals are parallel to each other, and all horizontals are parallel to the plane of the horizon. That means the horizon is a horizontal line. So it is a line created in reality by eyesight or whatever.
Yeah. Well, what is it then in reality?
I just made a straight line on a piece of paper. You're telling me that I could describe that as flat?
No, I'm saying in certain contexts you can find geometric objection to describing something which is factually flat, that's the surface of Earth, as a description of the whole. And when you measure with the respect to that principle that it is flat, when you take a measurement and combine that in a sentence and say you are measuring it flat, it infers a geometric assertion. This is the 19th time we have gone over this conversation. I'll just drop that in there.
Yeah, but there's an issue there. Like when Brian said the horizon is flat, right? Because we can transpose a straight line onto it, but we know in reality that the horizon has trees and waves and water, so it's definitely not flat. But we're seeing and projecting a straight line onto it.
I didn't say the horizon was flat.
I
mean, you seem to be intentionally kind of
don't see nefarious intent where there isn't any. You just
I didn't. No, I said the horizon creates a straight line. And that straight line is horizontal. That's what we get our horizontals off. And you can describe it as flat. Right. But you see, when you're talking about undulations, then you're going into geometric terms. Flat is not a geometric term.
Right. So what I'm saying is definitely not horizontal. The trees are not. So
if I draw a triangle on a piece of paper.
Hold on. One more time. No thanks.
Well, yeah, like I won't say flat because it's getting them, but the trees and the waves are definitely not in that horizontal position. So when you describe the horizon as a horizontal line, how is that possible when we know it's in reality it's made of trees and waves?
Yeah, but you can't see them. That's the point. None of them stick out. That's the point because it's a diffraction limit. So you can't you can't differentiate any of each wave from each other because it all amalgamates into one, and it becomes, due to our eyesight, it becomes just a straight line.
It's a composition fallacy. Hold on. It's a composition fallacy. John covered it earlier. Taking that which is true of the whole as true of part only. So in this case, he's saying, well, the mountain is representative of the whole land. You're like, no, it's on the land, but it doesn't mean that the mountain represents all of the land as a whole. As a whole, it's flat. Therefore, the mountain in a composition fallacy can be alluded to be the debunking of Earth being flat. But it's just as John described. I think it's correct in his identification as a composition fallacy.
Can I say something simple, Nathan? The horizon is horizontal and it's flat. And it was 1987 was like that. I don't know what's changed with the future, but horizon always was flat and always was horizontal. Always. Now, because of this debating stuff, it's starting to be confusing about words. But in my life, I know that horizon always was horizontal and flat. And flat is not, curse word. We can use it for the flat surface, for the lake, for the flatness. It's not, dangerous word. Because of flat earth now. Because if something is flat, it's flat. You don't be scared to say it.
Oh, no, that's precisely why people are scared, as it seems. But I do agree. But yeah, that is why they're scared. Because it's associated to Earth now, and that's somehow scary. I don't know why I'm smiling, but it does make me smile.
Don't use now. Now we will use the table is not flat, the table is horizontal.
Yeah, horizontal earther. If that was the terminology, there'd be an objection to that as well. The fact that we're flat earthers, I don't care. Flat's a perfectly fine word.
I said that this name is cool, flat, flat earth. Its only name, we made that name to have cool name, flat earth. But earth doesn't curve anywhere. That means it's not a sphere, but we can call it whatever we want. But we decided that it's cool to call flat earth. If Globers can live with that could be great.
If anything, if Brian's taken as read as being correct, then it's more appropriate. Because if you're going to say level earth, well, no, it isn't level, having no part higher or lower in that context. There are undulations, and Bev's argument would stand true. Or smooth earther, or any other word for that matter. But based on what Brian said within this context, ignoring that you can also have it as a synonym for vertical, flat, as a description only, non-geometric, as I say, accepting Brian's position, makes it more appropriate because you're not inferring that there aren't or are undulations in a geometric context or a geographical context. You're just giving a description of the whole. Right, Brian?
Exactly, Nathan. You're just describing the Earth as a whole, and until someone can describe it more precisely, then flat is how we'll describe it. And you're not being held. You can't be held to a geometric claim because you're not making one.
Right. And as a principle,
would you say,
as a principle with a description in mind that Earth is flat, you can measure utilizing that principle. But when you sandwich it as a sentence, you're going to get objections. That's why Brian's dragged this out 19 times. I get it. I'll always get it. And when Brian hears me say, yeah, Earth's measured flat, as a sound bite, I'm not doing it to invite argument. I haven't done it or said it in that way so that I can have 19 discussions on how it can be put into a context that doesn't make it make sense. Or have the proposal of a geometric measurement would lead people in the audience to believe that you're running a tape measure type of measurement along the ground as a flat surface to establish it that way, when in fact you're measuring Earth flat for the angle because it's flat, with a prerequisite that Earth is flat to get that angle measurement. But to say that's a measurement of a flat Earth, or how do I say Earth is measured flat? Brian says, no, you're inferring a geometric principle in terms of the measurement. Now, I don't agree with him, and he knows that. But I understand the principle of his argumentation, and I've heard it put to me 19 times. And I do understand the fact that I can easily stand with Brian going, that's absolutely right, your description's perfect, of where I stand on this. And I can even align with Brian if I choose to. It's just semantics.
Nathan, they said Earth is flat. They're thinking, oh, what about mountains and hills because of that? No, it's not flat. That's the same thing. Is it Earth spherical? That means mountains are not spherical, hills are not spherical. It's the same logic.
Exactly.
They're not sat on a curved surface. Yes, sorry, Brian.
So no, I stepped on you, Nathan. No, I'm just agreeing. Exactly. I made that point before as well, and other people made it too, not just me exclusively. But the argument is, why did anyone ever start describing the Earth as flat? Because someone started claiming it was a globe. Otherwise, we wouldn't be saying the term. We'd just be the Earth. We wouldn't be in the arena. When people started claiming it was a globe, right back in the 1700s or whatever, that's when the problem started. That's why such a thing as flat earthers exist, or flat Earth. The term flat Earth exists because it's the complete opposite of a globe. Because a globe is a sphere, is a three-dimensional geometric shape, whereas flat is no shape. So when you describe the Earth as flat, you're basically saying it is of no shape, no discernible shape. It has no specific discernible shape. Whereas if you're saying the Earth is a sphere, like the globe Earth, then you're claiming a three-dimensional shape to the Earth.
100% right.
The Earth does not have a dimensional shape.
Hold on. I put an excerpt of a 1960s dictionary definition of flat. It says continuous horizontal surface. First definition for flat. Continuous horizontal surface. So I put that in the main text chat. I'll put it in again.
Yeah. Horizontal surface. Yeah, you describe that as flat. I agree.
No, the definition says that is what it's defined as, not that that's how you describe it. It's saying flat is a continuous horizontal surface.
Yeah, but
so flat couldn't be level, flat couldn't be vertical.
Yeah, well, you can. How can you not describe the wall as flat?
Because it's vertical.
See, if the problem is because flat is synonymous with horizontal.
Gents, you got dual synonyms here. Okay, this is the trouble. So, if we're going to use the word flat and horizontal, then yes, flat is a synonym for horizontal. But because of English being English, yeah, also a synonym for the word plane, a flat plane, right, which relates to just the nature of the surface, as in a straight line will touch all points on the plane, we can also use the term flat there. Now, at that point, there's no orientation. We're just talking about the surface. You can twist that into a wall, whatever. We've got cross synonyms, yeah? Now, that's because the term flat, and like I said, sometimes it makes sense. You have to qualify it because we realize it's a misuse of the synonym, yeah? And then you qualify it with an adverb or something. So to me, that seems to be where the purpose of the argument is, recognizing where the word sits, because the same word has actually different meanings and different synonyms.
Yes, I agree.
Brilliant. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hit me up on the Ko-Fi link, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!